on Tuesday. Now, it's still hot and humid on Wednesday. A couple of afternoon storms, but much better. How about 80s on Thursday? This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Was telling me he was hot dogging all weekend at the lakes of the Ozarks and came back a toasty lobster. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this video feed looks like when we get it up and running. If you want to see it too, I think he had to white balance the cameras first because his red forehead was throwing off the coloring in the studio. Is that true, Ethan? I just heard a rumor about that.
That's mighty descriptive.
I haven't actually seen it yet, but from what I can tell, you're telling me you're feeling pretty bad right now.
I'm not feeling great, Ryan, but we're here and we're gonna have a show today.
And your voice makes it sound like you're screaming at the sun for some of it as well.
That would be from the tubing. Yeah. So at one point, my friend that was driving the boat turned around and he waved goodbye to me as though, like, the waves we were about to hit were gonna be enough to knock me off.
Yeah.
And I took that a little bit personally. So I may or may not have began saying some choice words at him from the tube. They didn't knock me off. I challenged him to keep going, taking it a level up, and then he knocked me off.
And then that's when disaster struck. No, that's not when were you wearing at least sunscreen over the weekend?
Well, for most of it, but I think by the time that I got it on, it was just it was too little too late, and I had already lost the war. Yeah,
well, I can't wait to see it when the video feeds up. When that happens, make sure nothing is hidden. I don't want any hoodies on. I want to see the full effect of this.
Well, the problem is most of it's on my shoulders, which is obviously covered by a shirt.
Okay. I mean, you could do the Hulk Hogan and rip it off and honor him. So that's a weird recommendation from the host. Could you please take your shirt off?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm allowed to say that.
The fill-in host too.
Fill-in host. Yeah. By the way, if people wanted to reach me at Ryan Recker on Twitter or Facebook, there's a lot that's going on right now. And we're going to talk to Josh Hammer. He's the Newsweek senior editor at large coming up in the next segment. You also hear him Saturdays here on 97.1 at 1 o'clock. So we'll get his thoughts about Donald Trump and Israel and the United States and the food situation there. There's a lot of people talking about it. The part, at least the story that interests me the most and the headlines that interest me the most is this Bill Maher situation. I've come to, I think, learn strategy of how to be a better broadcaster from Bill Maher. And I think one of those things, and it's not like I didn't have this trait to begin with, but I think one of the main traits that I think a lot of broadcasters need to take notice of is your ability to admit when you're wrong. It's something that very few people in this world do anymore. When you are wrong about something, you just will die on the hill of your lie, or not the lie, rather the thing that you said that was wrong. It doesn't have to necessarily be a lie, for example. But Bill Maher is not someone that is proud enough to just keep going to bat for something that's not true. He recently said he was wrong about Trump's tariffs. And I remember doing the late night show and I would be wrong. And I would admit, even when I didn't like the person, I would admit when I was wrong about them. And it didn't really make me feel bad that the person got it right or I was wrong or whatever it was. It was just, you felt better knowing that what you are trying to accomplish is the truth, not political cheap points. And I think Bill Maher, even though he does things in a comedic way, has shown me that this is the right path because the headlines are coming out and people, I think mostly on the right, always like to give Bill Maher credit when he says something that's more conservative. But when it comes from the left too, I think you find people are more willing to agree with someone like Bill Maher, even when it actually backs up someone that you hate. In that case, it would be the left and Donald Trump. So let's hear what Bill Maher had to say. This is clip number 1.
I would have thought, and I got to own it, that these tariffs were going to sink this economy by this time, and they didn't.
Okay. He figured it out. I thought it would be gone, and it wasn't. Now, keep in mind, if you go back to April and you listen to the Democrats that were harking on this over and over and over again, let's kind of hear what some of their predictions were, what the economy would be doing. This is clip number 5.
The end results will definitively be historically bad. He is crashing the economy in real time.
Donald Trump is teeing up a nationwide recession.
When Donald Trump is directly destroying the stock market in bursts of economic policy dementia.
This is economic arson. It's not a lightning strike. This is a guy setting fire to your savings.
Setting fire to your savings. That seems a little dramatic. Now, is that what happened? Let me put it this way. In the temporary, yes. I mean, at the very onset, you saw the Dow Jones and the other markets drop 1,000, and it was getting real hairy there. I think it got down to about 35,000 for the Dow Jones. And then next thing you know, there's a pause. It jumps back up. Okay, there's no pause. Now it kind of lingers. But now you find the part where we're back right into record territory. I didn't see where the Dow Jones closed. I think Fox News had it there and I missed it. But it was just flirting. It was right there on record territory as well. And both have rebounded just right. Here's what I find. And I'm going to relay this to the Epstein stuff because I think it could be relatable in the sense that a lot of times there's things that Donald Trump will say and people will go off on him. And then it'll take a few months and we realize that he was right. And this happens a lot with him, a lot. Now, there's times where it doesn't pan out, but more times than not, you find that the things that he will say or do will end up being vindicated through time. Well, I keep thinking back to the Epstein stuff and I keep thinking, okay, is he really telling us the truth? There's nothing there. And I have such a hard time accepting that. There's so many other things that I'll say, we're going to have to wait and see. But it's that Epstein stuff. I just have such a difficult time accepting that there is nothing there, nothing to see here. Dan Bongino put some very cryptic things online too. He said, I've never been more disappointed or scared. And he's having some really strong words and the things that he's learning. I don't know where we're going with this. I saw that Maxwell is requesting that they want to have the Supreme Court look at the case based on the plea deal that was made in Florida. I don't think she has a case to say that. I think Donald Trump has hinted that he would be able to pardon. I don't know if he would or why he would. I don't think he should. I think the crimes were heinous enough. But it makes you wonder, if you're going there and you're meeting with them, what does that mean in this whole grand scheme? Are you just fishing for more information so you can get something out of this if you believe there's nothing there? But why would you keep fishing if you think there is nothing there? There's so much of it that's just confusing to me. I think Donald Trump was asked about this. Can we do clip number 15? I think it's 15.
Well, I haven't been overly interested in it. You know, it's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this, those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey. They were run by Garland. They were run by Biden.
Yeah, there's part of it. It makes you wonder, too, if you think about it, again, some of the names they just named, why wasn't there action done before? If Donald Trump was on there, you better believe there would have been action. So that kind of makes you scratch your head, too. What really is going on there? I don't know what will become of this, but this is the one thing of all the things that go on in government, and later you find out, okay, all these Democrats were wrong about it, and Bill Maher will hopefully come back and apologize for it. Of all the things that you go and you look at, this is the one I have the hardest time accepting at face value, the hardest. Something else that's going on, I saw over the weekend, and of course you did too. Looks like in the EU, there's some progress when it comes to the tariffs there, but now the big thing is China. There could be another pause on it. And of course, you have some other indicators coming out this week when it comes to interest rates. And right now, I mean, we're treading water with the stock market because so much uncertainty going into it. Here's what Donald Trump says about the progress on tariffs. This is clip 17.
These are tough negotiators. These are, look, they're smart people, they're tough negotiators. They know what they want. And, but we're going to be setting a tariff for essentially the rest of the world. And that's what they're going to pay if they want to do business in the United States. Because you can't sit down and make 200 deals.
Yeah, this is China and some of these other countries there. He says you can't sit down and make 200 deals. I mean, you might be able to. It's Donald Trump. You'd be able to make some on the golf course. So while he's out there in between holes 3 and 4, he might make a deal with a couple countries and then wait for the next one and then knock a few more out there. I saw the Raging Cajun, Carville, had a couple of things to say about what Democrats should focus on moving forward because they're not going to win on tariffs. You have Bill Maher, and rightfully so, saying that it was wrong. And I think a lot of people looking at the way it was being handled and realizing that there may be something to all of this, the method to it. So, okay, are they going to just keep hitting on the Epstein? What's going to be the thing that Democrats should focus on in the next election? This is what Carville said. Clip 2.
The big, beautiful bill, cutting veterans benefits, closing rural hospitals, raising $3.4 trillion on the national debt. I mean, when you have something simple in a gift like this to contrast yourself, you would be stupid to talk about immigration or talk about bathrooms or track meets or anything else. Just define yourself that we don't think this is going in the right direction for the United States, and the numbers are overwhelmingly would support that. But if we keep talking about this other nonsense, we're going to lose our focus. When you have a gift, take it.
Here's where I think he's wrong, though. I think that if you're going to go out there and say we're adding to our deficits, we're going further into debt, this is tough, because when you talk about the national debt, Republicans and Democrats have been terrible on it. So you can't really just use that as a way to say, well, we are going to campaign on the national debt. It's a loser on both sides. So what are you going to do then? Outside of the big, beautiful bill, I think you're going to look at some of these different programs that he's alleging are getting cuts and realize it's not going to work out the way he thinks it's going to work out. So maybe if that's all they got right now, it's not looking like a strong hand. Maybe they'll lean into further progressiveness as the way to handle it. Joining us after the break is Newsweek senior editor-at-large Josh Hammer. Looking forward to our conversation with him. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon, 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, just have a couple of delays. 170 on your northbound side from Natural Bridge up to 70, a little slow. Southbound 270, slow spots from Page down to about Manchester. Northbound side from Page to 70, a little slow going. Eastbound on 70, tight from 141 to 270 and 64. Westbound only delays. They go from 264 to 70. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, August 5th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired? Do you have your personalized income plan in place? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market, and how in 39 years we have never lost a penny of our clients' money?
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, at the Frontenac Hilton, Tuesday, August 5th at 6:30. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
It's one of baseball's fiercest rivalries, the Cubs versus the Cardinals, and the action returns to Busch Stadium the weekend of August 8th through the 10th. Feel the heat, the history, and the excitement as these two legendary teams battle it out under the summer lights. 3 big games, 2 historic teams, 1 electric atmosphere you won't want to miss. Great seats remain. Secure yours today at Cardinals.com.
This is Wilson Contreras, St. Louis Cardinals, for the Lou.
Summer in St. Louis means one thing: Cardinals baseball. It's more than a game, it's an STL tradition. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the boom of the fireworks. It's the soundtrack to summer for Cardinals Nation. So grab your cap and glove and take your spot in the stands, because in St. Louis, baseball is more than a melody, it's our favorite song.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardy contractor and Pella Window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
Trucking accidents can change your life in an instant. The injuries, the bills, the stress. It's overwhelming. That's why you need a legal team that understands what you're going through and knows how to fight for what you deserve. At Kaufman Townsley, we've helped real people in St. Louis get real results after serious truck crashes. We know the roads, we know the law, and we know how to win. Kaufman Townsley. Real people, real results. Call 314-500-5000. That's 314-500-5000.
Now back to Mark Reardon, calling out the nonsense, one segment at a time. 97.1 FM Talk.
And I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Joining us now is Newsweek's senior editor-at-large and host of the Josh Hammer Show. You hear it Saturdays here on 97.1. Josh Hammer, welcome to St. Louis again.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to, start with what's going on with Gaza and the hunger crisis. So you hear about this hunger crisis. Can you tell me what you think is going on here? And is Donald Trump right to break off some of the goodwill with Netanyahu over this?
I don't think that Donald Trump necessarily has the facts straight. In Donald Trump's defense, there are very few people who are delivering the actual facts there because the media is just so overwhelmingly just chomping at the bit to just gobble up whatever sorts of tangentious propaganda Hamas and their allies are willing to throw out. So here's what we know. We know that at this time and over the past few months, for that matter, there are hundreds, not thousands, of trucks of aid that are ready to enter Gaza. Most of this aid currently is being provided by an American-based group called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. It's headed up by my friend, Reverend Johnny Moore. And the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is operating in conjunction with the Israeli government, but it's actually really an American operation. The problem is that Hamas and the United Nations, which are essentially one and the same thing in the Gaza Strip, the UN is embedded with, as part of Hamas, hundreds, if not thousands, of UN teachers, educators were part of the horrific pogrom of October 7th. So the UN and Hamas are not allowing this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid to get into Gaza. And the very simple reason as to why they're not doing that is because this is the first attempt since this war started almost 2 years ago now to circumvent Hamas when it comes to the aid distribution. Prior to this, all the aid from the Israelis would have to go through Hamas, and they would pilfer 50-60% of the aid and then just try to sell it at astronomically, artificially inflated prices there because these are evil people. These are not just jihadists and terrorists. They're also kleptocrats who don't wish their own people well. We know that because they use them, frankly, as cannon fodder, as human shields. So Hamas is deeply, deeply cynically preventing this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid to get in. And the final thing I'll just say on this, and I'll stop after this, is the latest part of this horrific information operation, which we've seen on places, including the New York Times, page A1. There's this one photo really going around of this boy in Gaza who is clearly not in great health. He's deeply emaciated. And they're having you believe that this is Israel that is causing a famine and starvation. But what the New York Times and no one else is telling you is that this particular boy in this photo has a rare genital muscular disorder. And that is the reason that he looks like this. So it's really grotesque stuff. They're just lying through their teeth. Many of us who followed this conflict for many years now are accustomed to this. There's a whole cottage industry here. Folks call it Pallywood. It's the Palestinian Arab Hollywood because they just do all these sorts of misinformation operations all the time.
You know, I agree with that. I agree that a lot of times that what you find is that news that is being picked up by a lot of large organizations are getting picked up from a terrorist-backed news propaganda machine. So why do you think all the news networks are lying about this in the sense that they're not going deeper and trying to use some of the logic that you're using?
Well, I think it's very simple, which is that most of the corporate media hate Israel for the same reason that most of the American left, and or at least the activist American left, the woke left, the global left, they all hate Israel for the exact same reasons, which is they hate Israel for the same reason that they hate America, which is that they see an outpost of Western civilization defending against barbarism, which was pretty acutely demonstrated on October 7th. That was a really crisp example of what barbarism practice looks like. And the media are all too often not just ready, willing, and able, but eager. They are affirmatively eager to provide cover by any means necessary for the forces of barbarism against Western civilization. We see that here on the home front here in the United States when it comes to to trying to call the Trump administration a bunch of fascists, for trying to deport criminal illegal aliens there. I mean, time and time again, the media are all too ready, willing, and eager to side with barbarism over civilization.
Let me ask you economy question. What do you think stronger, Trump's tariff strategy or the American economy resiliency?
I was one of those folks who was sounding not alarm at all, actually, but I said that I thought that the initial Liberation Day tariffs on April 3rd at the Rose Garden were done a little rushed. But on the other hand, I said that I think Donald Trump knows what he's doing when it comes to tariffs, because this has been his signature issue going back decades. He has been adamant about this for a very, very, very long time. And frankly, I think that it's time for a lot of people to say, and I saw someone on TV say this earlier. He basically said, "Oh, look, I'm a free trader," but even I have to admit that Donald Trump's tariffs have really worked quite well. And that was kind of my prediction from back in April as well there. So it was a little rough out of the gate. The whole tariff negotiating strategy has not necessarily been the smoothest thing. That's a little bit of a herky-jerky kind of give-and-go type operation. But I was certainly not one of the doomsdayers who was predicting the economy to crash, and I'm not particularly surprised that it hasn't had a massive effect, to be honest with you.
No, and you initially speaking, you see the Dow drop 1,000 points, 1,000 points, 1,000 points, and you think, oh boy, this hurts. But now we not only rebounded, we've surpassed that. We're about record territory there. And you keep seeing it flirt with the record territory. And we're talking even more tariffs in the long run. I mean, there could be some real positive things that come from this. But what you still hear, the news reports that say, just wait until it kicks in. Well, I feel like they haven't learned that lesson, the just wait stuff, because I think we're pretty resilient. And especially with the economy, we're pretty resilient in finding ways to adapt, and we come out stronger.
Well, the American economy is always going to be more resilient than people think it is. I mean, again, this is the United States of America. We have the largest economy in the world. We have any number of industries that contribute to this economy. I mean, there are so many nations around the world that are overly dependent on at least one industry or one supply chain, and that's just not the way that the United States operates. I mean, for at least a century, I mean, arguably since World War I, at least since World War II, we've been the world's undisputed superpower. So there's definitely something to be said for that as well. But I mean, a lot of folks are predicting massive inflation, for instance, from the Trump tariffs, and we're barely seeing the budge at all in the month-over-month data. It's still a little higher than it should be. The Federal Reserve always says that its target is 2% inflation. Right now, the most recent numbers I saw were around 2.7 or so. But month-over-month, we're talking about a move from like 2.5 or 2.6 to 2.7. I mean, it's really not having a tremendous impact on the inflation rate at this time. And on the contrary, the most recent data that we've seen from the U.S. Treasury is that tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue are being pulled into the Treasury from these tariffs, at least for now. I mean, it's always possible that things could change, but for now, the madman really seems to be doing it.
Real quick, this whole Tulsi Gabbard and making recommendations, further investigations into former President Obama, some people around him when it comes to the Russian dossier and some of these other documents. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's really explosive stuff. And my hat's off to Tulsi Gabbard for doing this tremendous public service and declassifying these documents. I think it's really great, frankly. And what we're seeing thus far is, look, it's not quite the absolute most smoking guns, but the 2020 House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence report that Tulsi has declassified is pretty smoking gun-esque stuff. And what it really shows is that that the fish rots in the head. Barack Obama was personally involved here in dictating to John Brennan and Jim Clapper and James Comey that this rushed intelligence community assessment during the transition period that was all predicated in no small part on the discredited Steele dossier. It really is, I think, a big deal. I think that folks on the left are trying to downplay it, unfortunately, too much. I mean, that's what they do, is they downplay news that doesn't help them there. But yeah, we'll see what happens when it comes to criminal referrals. That's where I tend to get a little more cautious. Not that I don't want to see prosecutions. I do. I just tend to be a little skeptical as to the relevant statutes of limitations and things like that, putting on my lawyer cap there. But at a bare minimum, they say sunlight is the best disinfectant. That's an old quote from Justice Louis Brandeis in the Supreme Court about a century ago. So under that framing, I think that Tulsi has really done a great public service here.
Great. Josh Hammer, you can hear him weekends here on 97.1, Saturdays at 1 o'clock. This is Josh Hammer Show. By the way, you're the Newsweek senior editor at large. If people wanted to look you up online, where can they go?
You can check me out on X at Josh_Hammer. My syndicated column goes up at Newsweek, Real Clear Politics, Los Angeles Times, and elsewhere. And then my show, The Josh Hammer Show, as you mentioned, is heard right here every Saturday afternoon.
Great. Josh Hammer, thank you so much for joining us in St. Louis. We appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Don't go anywhere. It's 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
So southbound 170, a little slow now, Forest Park Parkway down to 64. Your northbound side hits the brakes at Natural Bridge up to 70. 270 southbound, slow page to 64. And northbound from Dorset to 70s on the brakes. 70 eastbound, slow going from 141 to 270. Westbound side of 64 from 364 to 70. And southbound 55 starting to see some stress now from Gasconade down to Bates. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
What's the most important thing when it comes to getting your roof replaced? Honesty, because honestly, most of us don't know what it takes to replace a roof. Mark Cox here from my friends at Correll Roofing Company. Curtis Correll is a friend of mine. I've known him for many years. And when he came to my house to look at my roof, he brought back pictures and showed me where the damage was from the hail. He worked with my insurance adjuster. He made sure I understood exactly what they would be replacing on my roof. Are they putting down felt? Are they replacing any wood? What quality of shingle are you getting on your roof? These are all questions most of us don't know to ask, so you need to be able to trust the person who is doing the work for you. You can trust Curtis Correll. He's got crews with over 20 years of experience. He pays attention to detail with quality materials and workmanship. Call him at 314-222-9529. That's 314-222-9529 or Correll Roofing Co. on Facebook.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The time is 3:31. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Cutting through the spin. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
And welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Enjoyed that conversation with Josh Hammer there. Get the Odyssey app. You can always rewind back and catch any conversations you missed. Joining us now is the Executive Director of the Climate Science Coalition of America, Steve Goreham. Thank you for coming on to the show today.
And great to join you.
Author of 4 books on energy, climate change, and sustainable development. And while meeting with the European Union, Donald Trump was trying to convince them to drop windmill projects. So part of the presentation was that wind energy, citing noise, harm to marine life, bird deaths, landscape disruption, and the need for subsidies as reasons for his stance. He's already come out and stopped any new construction on wind, saying we're not paying for this. The current projects are going to get finished. What do you think about this stance? And then the United States and Donald Trump going to other countries and telling them to cut it out too.
Yeah, he's something, isn't he? He really is outspoken. And he claimed, quote, it's the worst form of energy, the most expensive form of energy, but windmills should not be allowed. Apparently, from his 2 golf courses, you can see a bunch of windmills on the hills in Scotland. He doesn't like them. And it is true. In the last, since 2000, Scotland has cut down something like 14 million trees to put up wind turbine towers. And so you have to kind of wonder how that's environmentally friendly. And you're right, the president has, I don't think he stopped all wind, but he has halted all the offshore licenses for offshore wind. to put up a wind turbine, you have to get a license from the U.S. government. He has shut all those down, and he's having Chris Wright, the Energy Secretary, and Doug Burgum, the Department of the Interior, renew all new licenses for wind and some of the existing stuff. So, yeah, he's really an anti-wind guy. Some of the things he says may not be correct about the whales, et cetera, but it is true wind is more expensive. I mean, if you look at, for example, the two biggest wind nations in Europe are Denmark and Germany. They have the highest density of wind turbines, and guess what? They have the highest electricity in Europe. Funny about that. If wind is cheaper, you expect they'd have lower electricity rates.
Yeah, I worry about the expensive nature of it. In so many ways, the United States government thought it was wise to subsidize more expensive energy and to say that, don't worry, it'll help us in the long run. But I have yet to see it helping us in the long run. So I guess if you're to do apples to apples comparison, because part of this wind energy, they were talking about mostly the offshore wind. But is it really the most expensive when you compare it to other things like solar and some of these other ones they've been pushing?
Well, it kind of depends what you look at, because the per unit cost per unit of electricity is not very high. But Chris Wright, the Energy Secretary, has called wind a parasitic energy source, because what states do is they put up a bunch of wind, and then they scale back the utilization of coal and natural gas and other power sources. So that the wind can get its power in there, but they have to keep all those sources available and ready to run for when the wind doesn't blow, or in a case of solar, when the sun doesn't shine. And you end up building, as I've talked about in my books, you end up building twice as much infrastructure. The more wind you add, you still have to keep 90% of the traditional power plants around, and so you have all this infrastructure you have to maintain. Another example is in the United States. When I present to groups, I show a chart that shows the electricity prices for the top 10 or top 12 wind states. And it shows the price increase over the last 15 years or so. And it turns out that nationally, our electricity rates have gone up about 33%. I guess it's in about 16 years. But 7 of the top 12 wind states have rates that are higher than the average U.S. increase. In California, Green California is up 116% in the last. I mean, they're way more than the national average of 33%, and that's because you have to build transmission out to all these things. You have to build towers and lines. You can't put them close to a city, and then you have to account for intermittency. So and by the way, they use huge amounts of land area as well. Wind and solar use 100 times the land area of traditional gas and nuclear and coal plants.
You know, you have a book, Green Breakdown, The Coming Renewable Energy Failure. You know, I guess in that vein, I think about what some major cities have decided to do, and particularly more left-leaning cities. They say, what we're going to do is take public funds and we're going to try these certain programs in neighborhoods. So in this neighborhood, we're just going to put solar out, and the people in this neighborhood will benefit from it. But don't worry, you don't have to pay anything. It's all taxpayer, but it'll be a pilot program. And some places, let's put some geothermal down. And you look at the breakdown and the cost, and I think, okay, per house, they're probably spending about $150,000 per house. And given that it's government, it's probably higher than that because they're not going to disclose everything. And I thought, if you were to give each homeowner an option, take the 150 and do what you want with it to offset your energy costs, or build a wind turbine or build a solar on your house, they'll take the money because they realize that's the better value. Why doesn't the government think like that?
Yeah, it is. Well, it's all the fear of man-made global warming. That's what all these states are reacting to. But what they should be doing is what Missouri is doing. Missouri is paying about 13 cents per kilowatt hour. The national average is 16.5 cents. So Missouri is quite a bit lower than the national average. California is way up at 30 cents per kilowatt hour, more than double the price in Missouri. And by the way, Missouri gets 67% of their electricity last year from coal, 14% from gas, and 15% from nuclear. Only about 4.5% from renewables. So the idea that it's cheaper to build all these renewables just isn't right, and we have many examples of that. So and you're right about subsidies too. Wind has been getting subsidies since 1992, And but right now, those have been slashed by the One Big Beautiful Bill Act in the Trump administration. If you don't build your project and get it in place by 2028, you don't get these investment tax credits, production tax credits, loans, and grants. And that's really going to impact the industry. So I think we're on a road to getting back to sensible energy policy.
Yeah, and going back to this idea, too, that your book, Green Breakdown, Becoming Renewable Energy Failure. So what's set to fail first? If you were to look at some of these different renewable energies and the investments that we've made, some of them more dependable than others, what do you think is on our horizon for all of this investment we've already made?
Well, I think people are taking a step back in many ways. We've already seen the Trump administration is driving a lot of this, cutting all these prices and things. But we have the offshore wind industry is going to do about 10% of what was projected, again, because of Trump's cuts. We have people pushing back in Europe, too. We have the number 2 party in Germany right now, the Alternative for Deutschland, has in their plank that they're going to ban all wind turbines. We have a big slowdown in electric vehicles. Electric vehicles last November, December, January were 8% of the U.S. market. Now they've dropped to 7%. And again, the One Big Beautiful Bill has cut the $7,500 tax credit for a new EV and the used EV sale of $4,000 tax credit. They're going to lose market share at the end of the year. They're going to be down to about 6%. And people are just saying, well, the costs aren't worth it. And the prices aren't worth it. And so I think we're getting back to sensible energy policy. By the way, there's one more big factor. We have this artificial intelligence revolution, and people are building gas power plants all over the country. In Texas, for example, there's 52 gigawatts of new gas plants that are going in. And if those are built and they're all applying, they'll produce more than 3 times as much electricity as all the wind turbines in Texas. And Texas is the biggest wind turbine state in the country.
Oh, wow.
So a combination of what Trump is doing, the combination of the AI market demand, and just other factors is kind of putting a halt to the real renewable energy transition.
So these different energies, these alternative energies, do they only exist when the oil or the natural gas or the nuclear are more expensive and scarce, meaning it's something more nefarious could have been going on? Trying to get rid of these alternatives were the only reason why the renewable energies were looked at as desirable. But when you have energy dependence here in the United States, when you can have the oil and the natural gas and the coal and the nuclear, then all these other things are pretty much redundant.
Well, then they tend to be very expensive. There's another factor too. If you look at the price, the stock price of renewable companies, they've been very, very poor investments, with the exception of Tesla, that has grown to be $1 trillion company. All of these companies typically lose money. There's a RENIX index, RENIXX, of the top renewable energy companies, equipment companies in the world. That is down in the last 20 years. And at the same time, the Standard & Poor's quadrupled. So the businesses are just very, very poor. We had BP, which was going to be beyond petroleum. They've decided they're going to quit all the renewables. They're going back to oil and gas because you just can't make money with these renewables. There's not a single electric charging company in the world that is making money. You can't make money on EV chargers. So there's just a lot of factors that are piling up.
Yeah. But you have to give some credit, like you mentioned, to Tesla. I do, in the fact that even though there have been certain subsidies in the sense that there was tax credits for people that bought electric vehicles, and they were the big beneficiary of that. But they have revolutionized things in a lot of ways, and they mostly have done it in ways that other companies would never be able to do it, because they would rely almost solely on government subsidies in order for it to be viable. But I think they're finding ways for it to be viable. They got other options. And to me, I think it's part of a deeper plan of Elon Musk to populate Mars. He needs all this type of technology for it. So we may be helping him with that larger goal, but still, you got to give credit when some of these private companies step up and find ways to make it possible.
Well, they make cool cars, and EVs are going to get better and better. But the idea that governments have to force everybody to buy an EV to stop the oceans from rising, that's where we've really gone off track. That's just goofy. Let's give people choice and let the best cars win.
Yeah. Now, if people want to look you up online and some of your books, particularly your new one as well, where can they go?
Yeah, they can go to stevegoreham.com, GOREHAM.com. I'll send them a signed copy. And Green Breakdown has a bunch of great color sidebars, which are all real headlines, like the Washington Times article that said that we should all mate with short people to save the planet.
All these different ideas. This is kind of crazy talk, but so let's look at it. Just one other look at it. Is there any other renewable energies that you're looking at? I don't even know if there's anything else out there that's still in development. It seems like we've pretty much got our taste of everything.
Well, it depends on the location. You know, if you're in Hawaii and you've got sun and wind all the time and you got no pipelines, then wind and solar can be pretty good. I think that geothermal has some possibilities too. They're actually using hydraulic fracturing that they use in oil wells to try and create heat reservoirs down below the surface of the earth. So we'll see if they can get some cost breakdowns. Maybe they can get there. We also have small modular nuclear plants that have some potential. So we'll have to see how those go going forward.
I think that we were going to have to find a lot more people that want to live off the grid for like a zombie apocalypse reason to start really, picking up sales on some of these different methods. Okay. Well, again, if people want to look up online, what's the website?
Steve Goreham, GOREHAM.com. And also my books are on Amazon, of course, and there are ebooks available as well.
We'll see if they take Donald Trump's advice on the windmills over in the EU. I'm guessing they're not really looking for that unsolicited advice, but nonetheless, the last time he gave Europe some advice on energy, he said, don't trust Russia with your energy supply needs, and they should have listened to him then. So maybe they will take him to heart this time around. That could be a good thing for them. Thank you so much for joining us, Steve Goreham. We appreciate the time.
Thanks, Ryan.
And I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to go to the cameras. We're going to check out producer Ethan and see if he's glowing by now. You're listening to 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, watch for a stall if you're headed on 70 westbound. This is just past Bryan Road. We've got 170 on your northbound side, slow going Natural Bridge up to 70, southbound Forest Park Parkway to 64. 270 southbound, slow from Page down to just past 64, northbound from Dorset to 70. 70 eastbound starts to hit the brakes around 141 over to 270, westbound 64 past 364 to 70, heavy. And 55 southbound getting heavy between Gasconade and Bates on the southbound side. And this report is sponsored by Point Pest Control. Point with an E, Pest Control. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Let's show our appreciation for local heroes. Mark Cox here. Nominate a first responder and their department could get lunch from Grill Master Tony's. I'll personally deliver it. Share their story at 971talk.com. Nominate them today.
Point Pest Control is reminding you it's time to spray for mosquitoes. How can something that tiny interrupt your outside gatherings? Have Point Pest Control spray today so your next outside gathering is mosquito-free. 636-798-0023. Mention Annie to save an additional 10%. PointPestControl.com.
The success you've already had matters at University of Maryland Global Campus because we're a school for real life. An accredited state university, UMGC lets you earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's for prior learning and relevant life and work experience, or transfer up to 12 credits toward a master's. We offer affordable tuition and online and hybrid courses. Classes start August 13th. Apply now and save with no application fee. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by SHEV.
The reason many of us hate insurance companies is because some of them act like bullies. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. I've been dealing with these creatures my whole career. Whether it's a workers' comp claim, an auto accident, or a nursing home or medical mishap, the playbook is often the same: deny and delay. We became the largest injury firm in America for a reason. We fight the bullies. They know who we are, and I know it makes a difference for our clients. Just go to forthepeople.com and see our results and our verdicts after those bullies gave us their final offer. Hiring the wrong firm can be disastrous. Hiring the right firm could substantially increase your settlement. It's easy to get going. Visit forthepeople.com on your phone or computer, or call us on your cell at #law, #529. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Back to Mark Reardon, because someone's got to say it out loud. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Happy to be with you. And I got to say, with the way the camera's looking at you, producer Ethan, I really can't see the red, so you just look like you're glowing.
Well,
so maybe the lights reflect off the red easily into the camera. Is that
would
possible?
I feel like when I'm over here, it always looks kind of. I always kind of shine because of the lighting in here. So I don't really know how to fix that or how to make that better. If you watch the Annie Fry show, I was in a different spot in here earlier, and I feel like you could really see the red on my face. Let's see if I can get nice and close to the camera, get you a good shot there. You still can't really see.
Oh,
it.
I can use my imagination.
But
yeah.
even then, like my shoulders is where it's the worst. And you know,
you look like a Pop-Tart right now.
I feel like a Pop-Tart right now. That's been in the toaster a little too long.
I give you a lot of credit for coming in today. You probably weren't feeling great, and you thought they could really use me. I don't want to take a sick day, even though you probably should. So I appreciate you coming in and helping out. That probably, I'm guessing, crossed your mind, and it's probably not off the table for tomorrow. You'll just see how I treat you today.
Yeah, you know, Ryan, it's kind of honestly, it's really just every single day that you're hosting. It's a day-by-day thing at a time, whether I have sunburn or not, as to whether I want to take on the task of working with Ryan Recker.
I know. Every day you're like, I don't get paid enough for this.
I'm like that every day, whether you're hosting or not. But you know,
I get it. Who's Sydney Sweeney? Like, how would you explain her to someone that doesn't know much about her? Because all I know about her is that men love her, and that's the only thing I know her about. Like, men go crazy for her.
How would I define Sydney Sweeney? So Sydney Sweeney is a very famous actress. I would argue she is one of the
famous.
She might be the most famous female actress in the world right now. Is what I would probably say. Yes.
Why? How is that possible? I don't think I've seen her in anything.
Well, that's the thing. Guys like her because she is really pretty, and they like certain parts about her body.
Oh yeah, what parts?
How specific do you want me to get here?
Is it her eyes?
No, it's not her eyes.
Is it above or below the shoulders?
Yeah, it's below. It's below the shoulders. It's below the shoulders.
Oh, I get it. She has nice biceps.
There you go. You got it. Yeah. So
she's 27 years old, and she's being called a Nazi online. Did you hear about this?
I have seen this. Well, I saw last week. She was in a new. She became, I guess, the new face of advertising for American Eagle. They had a new advertisement line where they're promoting her. I guess promoting their new jeans line, or maybe just jeans in general. And the whole line was Sydney Sweeney has good jeans.
Right. Because, she's very, easy on the eyes is what you'd say. And good genes meaning, DNA, just built in. But jeans being a double entendre, meaning that she's wearing physical jeans as pants.
Correct.
She's got good genes. Well, some people will say that's full on Nazi propaganda. And when you talk about good genes and you have blonde hair and blue eyes or something, so when you start talking about those type of combinations and good genes, that's some Nazi stuff right there. So there's a lot of feminists upset right now.
Ryan, do you remember? I think you were hosting when the last time that Sydney Sweeney got brought up, because she, let's see, what Dr. Squatch, Dr. Sasquatch, I think it's Dr. Squatch, the soap brand. They did the advertisement with her, and remember they were selling the Sydney Sweeney bathwater soap. Do you remember that?
That's right.
That was
that
her.
Annie Fry show, or was this Mark?
I don't remember. It all runs together. But
so she was selling bathwater. She's one of those people.
Their Dr. Squatch's line was, and that was an advertisement, and they blew up. So at this point, it's proving to be good strategy to get Sydney Sweeney involved in your advertising, because dudes like looking at pretty girls.
I got to also mention that if you sell your bathwater, you should go to jail. I think that should be a criminal act that should not be tolerated in society. That is so gross. Anyone would do that. I didn't realize that was her. I look at her differently now. I look at her as trashy. Like people that sell bathwater are just trashy. I don't, because I'm looking at pictures online because they're showing the American Eagle ad, and she's like dressed in the Canadian tuxedo, which is all denim. I think that's what you call a Canadian tuxedo.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of the big things you would know her from. She was in Euphoria. That was her big thing. Has been her big show up to this point. What else? I'm scrolling through here. She played the main character in Madam Web, which didn't do that well. Anyone But You was her big rom-com she was in with Glenn Powell. That's probably her biggest movie that she's been in up to this point. But she continues to get more and more popular. And despite not being in a bunch of super big movies, now she's getting in bigger and bigger ones. The bigger she gets, but she still happens to be pretty popular because of her looks.
Probably because you think this Nazi stuff is going to hurt her.
Oh my gosh,
probably not.
Absolutely not. 0%
so stupid.
Chance.
Yeah,
0.
Well, all right. Well, I don't know. There just seems like a controversy waiting to happen when you get that big. It's almost like the housing bubble. It's going to pop at some point. It's the pretty bubble pops at some point.
It is funny though how you continue to see culture shift. Right, there was a huge shift. It felt like in the last 5 to 10 years, right, where this sort of femininity was getting pulled away from almost, and that's not just that specifically, but even Nike had the Scotty Scheffler advertisement where it was promoting family, and it just feels like 5 years ago that never would have been a thing. So it feels like culture continues to shift back a little bit and go back to, I guess, its former ways, and move away from
the world's starting to heal.
That's kind of what it feels like.
Basically what that. I think we got a couple minutes here. I got a few more clips. We were just talking to Steve Goreham, Executive Director of the Climate Science Coalition of America, and he was very much in favor of President Donald Trump going to the EU and trash talking windmills. I think we have that on clip number 22. Can we play that one?
Stop the windmills. You're ruining your countries. I really mean it. It's so sad. You fly over and you see these windmills all over the place, ruining your beautiful fields and valleys and killing your birds. And if they're stuck in the ocean, ruining your oceans.
I love it. Stop with the stupid that's how I feel about Sydney Sweeney. Stop with the Sydney Sweeney already. No more bath
No
water.
more bath water.
We're done with you're ruining the bath water. I think we got a few more minutes. Could there be some interest rate cuts this week? I doubt it. But, crazier things have happened. Here's what Donald Trump said about that. This is clip number 21.
I think he has to. You had 11 cuts, In Europe, they had 11 cuts. In other places, they had 10 or 11 cuts. And we had none, but I'm not going to say anything bad. We're doing so well, even without the rate cut. With the rate cut, it would be better. It affects our housing a little bit. We should be 3 points lower. Each point is $360 billion. Can you imagine that? That's big numbers. Each point, 1 point of cut, is the equivalent of $360 billion in savings. That's big stuff, Those are big numbers in the U.S. Everything's big. He should cut. A smart person would cut. He leaves very soon, so it's like one of those things. But I'll miss him greatly.
2 truths and a lie. I'll miss him greatly would be the lie. Jerome Powell, he's basically making sure everything's cleaned out of the office ahead of time. Well, I don't think they're going to cut it. They might, but I don't think they will. I kind of feel like Jerome Powell's going to stand pat on this, knowing that his job's pretty much a dead man walking. So what's the point of him trying to appease someone he doesn't like? I feel he'll stick with it. Maybe we'll get a cut later in the year, but not right now. Well, we'll have to wait and see. If it does, we're going to see some huge jumps on Wall Street. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Don't go anywhere. 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Oh, watch, we got a crash working on the eastbound side of 64. This is right at Big Bend or near Big Bend. It's on the right shoulder now. They just moved it over, but it's still heavy from 170 on over. Westbound side slows from Kings Highway over to Clayton, and then some delays around Big Bend with Gapers delays. 170 northbound slow, Natural Bridge to 70. Southbound side Ladue to 64 is pretty heavy. 270 southbound slow from Page to 64. 44 to Gravois, and we've got 55 southbound heavy going from Gasconade down to Bates. This report is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, and Electrical. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Feel like your paycheck barely keeps up with your life? At the Financial Freedom Seminar, learn how real people are building passive income and retiring early using real estate. It's all happening live in St. Louis with Lifestyles Unlimited, September 27th and 28th. You'll leave with a step-by-step plan to change your future. Text radio to 88007. That's live in St. Louis, September 27th and 28th. Text radio to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007.
Step outside and fall in love with your backyard again. From inviting porch overhangs to durable composite decks and cozy screen rooms, Lakeside Renovation and Design creates stunning outdoor living spaces designed for relaxation, entertaining, and making memories. With expert craftsmanship and top-quality materials, your new outdoor oasis will be perfect for every season. Call Lakeside Renovation and Design today or visit lakesiderd.com to get started. Let's turn your backyard into the retreat you've always dreamed of.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Can you remember the last time we had a president in the Oval Office who worked so hard every day to bring wins to the American people?
Weekdays from 5 to 9. St. Louis Conservative. KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
A deadly collision on the water in Florida. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. The Coast Guard just confirming 2 children were killed. 2 more are in critical condition after a barge appears to have struck their sailing boat near Miami. All 6 people on the boat were pulled from the water by responders. The Miami Yacht Club says they included participants in a youth sailing camp. The Coast Guard is investigating. The man accused of stabbing 11 people at a Michigan Walmart over the weekend is arraigned in state court.
Clearly, this is one of the most serious crimes that someone can commit in the state of Michigan, and it has a huge impact on public safety.
Grand Traverse County prosecutor Noelle Mogenberg setting bond for Bradford James Gilley at $100,000, also noting that most of the attack was caught on surveillance video. Gilley is facing 11 counts of assault with intent to murder and a terrorism charge. There's no word on a possible motive. Gilley has a lengthy criminal history. In 2016, charged with mutilating dead bodies and found not guilty by reason of insanity. 20 Democrat-led states and D.C. are now suing the Trump administration, accusing the federal government of trying to use data from a food assistance program to target illegal immigrants.
We have to help.
They are basically trying to weaponize the SNAP program against immigrant communities.
New York Attorney General Letitia James says that would violate the law. The USDA has issued guidance for states to turn over data after a Trump executive order to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. President Trump is winding down a trip to Scotland by meeting with Britain's prime minister and calling for more humanitarian aid in Gaza.
We have to help on a humanitarian basis before we do anything. We have to get the kids fed.
President Trump also says alternatives are being considered to get hostages out if there's no ceasefire in Gaza, as the U.S. and Israel accuse Hamas of not acting in good faith in negotiations. America is listening to Fox News.
You hear that? That's Mike sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. That's because Mike was smart this time. He took ZQL Ultra to fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs. So now he wakes up refreshed and ready to conquer Mondays.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx.
It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
The beast continues, but there is hope on the horizon. Mostly clear, very warm, very humid, not only this evening, but all night long. Evening temperatures around 90, 79 for the low. Tuesday, partly sunny, hot and humid, 99 to 100 degrees on Tuesday. Tuesday night, warm and humid, 79. Wednesday, partly sunny, hot and humid, still hanging on Wednesday with a couple of thunderstorms, 94. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
In the 70s, baseball player Jerry Kelly decided to do something different.
Thanks for calling, Jerry Kelly, Heating and Air Conditioning.
This year, the company Jerry started decided we'd do something different.
Thanks for calling Jerry Kelly Heating, Air, and Electrical.
And electrical.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, August 5th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired? Do you have your personalized income plan in place? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market, and how in 39 years we have never lost a penny of our clients' money?
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, at the Frontenac Hilton, Tuesday, August 5th at 6:30. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
This year, fuel prices have been a bit of a roller coaster. Here in St. Louis, drivers finally have some relief at the pump. But when it comes to groceries and food, it's still pretty bumpy out there. Well, you know what can make your ride smoother? The Upside app. With Upside, you can earn an average 8% cash back on grocery or restaurant purchases and up to 25 cents per gallon on gas, which means there's money to be earned even when fuel prices are low. There are hundreds of nearby locations like Schnucks, Burger King, Arby's, and Taco Bell. Download the app and see why millions of Upside users have racked up almost $1 billion in cash back earned. For a limited time, get a 10% bonus on your first purchase with promo code STL11. That's promo code STL11 for an extra 10% cash back bonus. With Upside, you can roll up to a nearby grocery store, restaurant, or gas station and coast straight to cashback earnings. Don't forget to use promo code STL11. Upside. Cashback smarter. Offers vary by user and location. Terms and conditions apply. Go to upside.com for details.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. If you need to sell your home to buy a new one, it's never been more important to have an experienced negotiator that you can trust. You need my friends Mark and Neil Gelman on your side. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song. You can't imagine life without them. So tell them today, I love you. Get screened. It could help save their life. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn more.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker. Can I tell you what I miss, Ethan? I miss WikiLeaks. It's been so long since we've had a good WikiLeaks. I went to their website just to see if there's anything new. It's been since August of 2021 before something came out. Why can't we get the Epstein stuff on WikiLeaks? How come someone doesn't put it up on there? I'm saying this seriously because they used to be so cool with leaking these type of important documents of public interest around the world, and you would get to see things for yourself, and they were always true. The stuff that they were posting was accurate. But WikiLeaks has been defunct for so long.
I don't really remember. I guess I was never really huge into WikiLeaks. It was probably more so prevalent when I was growing up, maybe middle school and high school. I don't remember ever anything big personally like coming out through WikiLeaks. What was like? Is there anything that comes to mind that was big through WikiLeaks?
the Hillary Clinton emails. That was
really?
the huge thing. Yeah. So now keep in mind, Hillary Clinton, they got accidentally deleted, and we find out they like purposely tried to. It was the bleach bit was the big thing. So they went through some pretty big means to make sure this stuff couldn't get out there. But WikiLeaks had copies, and then you found them also releasing. There was this big scandal overseas, not so much in the United States, but some really big names, billionaires and such, that were involved in this big fraud. So, they were really on top of it for the longest time. And I kept thinking, man, if only WikiLeaks would put out the Epstein stuff, then we can all see it, and then we don't have to worry about this trusting Wall Street Journal garbage. Now, the Wall Street Journal piece that came out was like a 30-year-old birthday list or something. That was like what they're trying to determine if the names are on there or not. It's not enough. So that was just a random thought. I just wish WikiLeaks was still around. Can we play some more clips, Ethan?
Yeah, real quick. Also, Colonel Ripper on the YouTube stream saying that WikiLeaks got a bunch of stuff I guess on Edward Snowden.
Yeah,
I didn't know that
think
was a big thing too either. So I don't know. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, Julian Assange, and I know they're still kind of fighting for it out there, but there really hasn't been much. All right, a couple other things I want to get to, which I thought was kind of interesting. Chris Matthews, and it's so funny because some of the different clips that we're playing, Bill Maher, the Raging Cajun, Carville, and Chris Matthews, these are people that have been around a long time. These are legacy style type of Democratic broadcasters. And you have Carville, who just refuses to believe the reality of the situation. Chris Matthews is someone that got the thrill up his leg. That was the big thing people played for a long time. But he did a little bit on Trump's appeal. Can we play clip number 3 for that one?
Country is moving towards Trump. I think his strength is still greater than the Democratic strength. He is a stronger public figure than the Democratic people. I mean, Obama still has tremendous charisma, but Trump has strength. And I think that's what all voters look for. But they want a president who is a strong figure. And he's got it. And he can, it's just there. And half the country buys it.
I'll tell you what, Chris Matthews sounds terrible. That's the first time I've heard his voice in probably a year. And I don't know if it's so much about him being a strong public figure. I think he kind of stands for these things that are just common sense things that the public seems to identify with. Meaning, yeah, we kind of don't like this nonsense woke garbage that you've gone all in on. So you lost us. We're out of here. I think it's more has to do with that than, I think Trump had the courage to go against some of these really popular things that a lot of even billion and trillion dollar corporations leaned into out of the fear that if they weren't for it, then their customers would be against them. But he kind of had the strength to say, we're not doing any of this stuff. He kind of does it his own way. And this is part of CNN, and they do the polling, and Harry Enton is normally someone that likes to break the news to the Democratic Party, at least as of late, quite harshly. Here's clip number 4.
We had that poll come out a little while ago on their net favorable rating. They were 26 points underwater. You think that's low enough? How about we go even lower? We'll go to this side of the screen. I'm going to walk over here. We go to the Wall Street Journal, minus 30 points underwater. Their lowest on record. These polls have records going all the way back since the early 1990s. And when it comes to the Democratic Party's net favorable rating in both the Wall Street Journal poll and the CNN poll, the Democratic Party is breaking records in the way, Jessica Dean, you don't want to break records.
Can we just talk for a second on how he describes the 1990s? He calls them the 1990s. I mean, I would expect Ethan to say that because Ethan, you were born, I'm guessing, in the 2000s.
2000, yes.
Yeah, I would guess that you would look at the 1900s as, that was the before I was born, the century before I was born. But when he calls it the 1900s and 90s, I thought, man, who are you talking to, man? Your audience right now, like you're talking to a bunch of young, 20-year-olds as your audience is all old like you guys, and me too, for that matter. My back hurts just thinking about it. So, I mean, they're starting to have this realization. I think they realize this is their way to try to influence some of the Democratic lawmakers, that you got to get off of this, socialist track that you're seeing in candidates like in New York. So let's kind of nudge their way. I don't know if it'll work. Who knows? But it's kind of fun to watch, I would say. And I still give Bill Maher a lot of credit. All the times he was wrong, at least he comes out and will admit what he was wrong. So I do appreciate that. All right, we're going to do Sue's news, but in absence of Sue, let's do Ethan's news coming up after the break. I'm Ryan Wrecker, looking forward to having some time to play with you a little bit more on 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, we've got delays if you're headed on northbound 170 from Natural Bridge to 70. Not terrible, but we've got southbound delays that go from Forest Park Parkway down to 64, 270 southbound slow Olive to 64, 44 to Gravois, 70 eastbound slow 141 to 270, westbound 64 on the brakes from Kings Highway over to Clayton, but much improved on the eastbound side with that crash by Big Bend cleared. As southbound on 55 slow Gasconade down to Bates. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Is your home, business, or church looking tired, chalky, or in need of curb appeal? Go Rhino. Tired of painting year after year? Go Rhino. Our unique 3M ceramic technology is perfect for brick, stucco, aluminum, steel, color lock masonite, and more. It's backed by our 25-year transferable warranty to not chip, crack, or peel. Great if you're staying, and even better if you're selling. Our ceramic coating allows you to maintain all of your architectural features. The decision to do vinyl will leave your home looking like a plastic moldy box. With Rhino Shield, in 15 years, your home will still have that, wow, it looks like you just got it painted. We've done large condo complexes, parking garages, pole barns, and commercial strip malls. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. Evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
No pain, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
I'm Kristen Press. And I'm Tobin Heath. We're World Cup winners, Olympians, and the hosts of The Recap Show.
Every week, we sit down with the icons, disruptors, and game changers on the field and beyond it to talk victories, heartbreaks, and everything in between.
We've built a space where athletes, change makers, and people creating the future of women's sports can show up and show off as their full, unapologetic selves.
Follow and listen to The Recap Show wherever you get your podcasts.
From politics to pop culture, Reardon breaks it all down. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
And I'm Ryan Wrecker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Happy to be with you. And gotta say, Ethan, I'm a little disappointed. I really thought I would see more red in the camera, but
give me
I feel
a
like
break.
Maybe you really didn't get burned all that much over the weekend.
So what I'm hearing right now, Ryan Wrecker, I want to make sure I hear this correctly, is
I'm
a little bit disappointed that you're not suffering more on the surface than you really are.
Yeah. I mean, I can hear it in your voice. Things are tough right now, but I really thought I would see it represented more in the burnt skin.
Hey, Ryan, it's Fred.
Yeah.
In person, it's very red.
Oh, is it now?
Yeah.
And that's
Have
just
you
my
done
face. That's not even the worst part. I'm telling you.
Have you done the thumb test yet where you, Fred, put your thumb on Ethan's forehead? And
Come on over here, Fred. Come on.
See how long it takes for it to
I'll
come
take
back.
his word for it.
Well, good luck being that red for, I don't know, the next 6 months. It's going to take a long time for that tan to go away, I think. I still have tan lines from sitting outside watching my son's baseball game for too long. And it's been like, I don't know, at least 6 months since I've received those.
Yeah,
It
but
takes a long time.
I don't tan. I burn. So it's really, I don't think it's going to take that long. It's going to be, I think it's going to be gone in the next 2 weeks.
Peeling like a snake, basically, is the next thing for you. All right, let's do Sue's News.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No. And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Well, today is National Milk Chocolate Day.
Oh.
I read it originally as Chocolate Milk Day.
Yeah, is there a difference?
Well, that's a good question. Here's what I'll say to that. We have so many different today is National whatever day. I would guess that they are different. I would assume.
Are you thinking like a Hershey bar?
That's what I think this is referring to.
Okay.
What do you like more, Fred? Milk chocolate or chocolate milk?
Chocolate milk.
Ryan?
Yeah, if you get a good chocolate milk, yes, give that to me.
I would agree with you all. I am more of a fan of chocolate milk. In fact, I just had some chocolate milk yesterday.
I did too.
Do you have it every day, Fred?
Really?
I try not to, but I think it's my go-to before bed.
I guess I've been told it's good to drink out for workout recovery.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why that is. It doesn't make sense to me, but there you go for that. If you are an American and do not travel internationally, this news may come to a shock to you, but a lot of stuff is really similar in other countries, but there are plenty of things that are also different for better or for worse. There's a forum currently online where people around the world are sharing non-American things that they highly recommend to Americans. So here's a couple of the things that are on this list. The number one thing, month-long vacations.
Oh, wow.
Or holidays, as they're called. America is work-obsessed, the people say, and it is one of the countries that offer the least amount of time or paid vacation days. I'd get on board with this, Fred.
A month long?
I mean, would
How
you
does your
not
job exist?
That's the question, right? I guess it's just different in other cultures. Other things on this list include taxes included in the price tag, not to mention service fees and tips. I'm a big fan of that. I hate one of the biggest pet peeves. You go on a third-party ticket sales website, SeatGeek, StubHub, all these, and the full price is not included. Drives me insane.
I've not bought some things because the service fee is just crazy.
I think SeatGeek might actually include it but some of them don't. Ticketmaster, a bunch of these don't. So it is frustrating when you think you're paying a certain price, and then you get to the final page and it's like, nope, it's actually $40 more.
Yeah.
The tipping is going to be like that in the future too. They're going to look at it and they're going to say, remember.
Oh, I think we lost Ryan there for a second. He's going to have to reconnect, so he'll be able to tell us what to remember in a moment, but we'll keep moving on here. High-speed trains is on the list. Towel warmers in the bathroom. Heated floors instead of vented heat. I could get on board with that one. Let's see. What else is on here? Butter on sandwiches. That sounds like something that Americans would do, and everyone else would say, no, that's unhealthy. You guys are just being unhealthy Americans. And the last one, fresh squeezed juice machines in grocery stores. So a good list there of some different things. Ryan, you back with us?
Don't trust that. What, did it cut out?
I told you. I said it cut out. We didn't hear anything that you said, what we're supposed to remember.
Oh, that's weird. Well, I don't remember what I was saying. Sorry.
That checks out. We'll continue moving on in Ethan's news.
Can I tell you one thing that I thought would be on the list that wasn't?
Oh, sure.
Maybe I missed it.
Go for it.
Bidets. Did you say bidets?
I did not. I only said there was 15 on the list, and I only said probably 7 of them. Bidets were on the list.
Oh, yeah, because I think the rest of the world loves bidets. I don't really understand why, but they love them.
Listen, Americans are just a little bit extra sensitive down there. That's all.
No, thanks. I don't want any of that spraying down there.
Ryan, a couple months ago, Marie and I went on a vacation to Japan, and bidets were, obviously a way of life there. But another thing that I noticed was that they have the sound of rushing water in their public restrooms for people who are bladder shy and don't want anyone to hear them. And it seems to me like when I was at the Cardinals game last week, in one of the men's rooms, there was just a soundtrack of rushing water.
Stop it.
Well, unless there was a plumbing problem.
See, here's what I don't
going on.
Here's what I don't understand.
In one of the bathrooms.
When you're in public, people don't know you. So why does it matter? If you're at work,
Right.
I get it. If you're around people, it's like, oh, that guy, ugh, yikes. But if you're around people you're never going to see again, who cares? Whatever. Anyway, according to a new poll, Americans spend nearly half of their entire day online between work, jobs and tasks, entertainment, and socials. Here's how that breaks down. The average American spends more than 10 hours a day online. 5.4 of those hours are spent on work, reading emails, paying bills, browsing, gaming, and looking at social media. And they spend the other 5 hours streaming entertainment, watching movies, shows, videos. 55% of them use their TV to stream content, followed by 25% who mostly use computers and tablets, and 20% who use their phones. Given, so I don't know, would you guys say that that's pretty accurate for you guys? 10 hours a day? Fred, I know you and I were on computers all day.
Yeah, I'm on computers pretty much all day. Yeah.
I would say it's probably
I don't
over
stream that much.
I would say it's probably over 10 hours a day for me.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably more close to 14. Ryan?
I would say for me, it's more like 22 and a half hours a day I'm on a screen. It feels like it, at least, because the work's the screen. I get home, more screens. Everything's a screen anymore. Like refrigerators are screens anymore. Everything's a screen.
My friend, do you sleep?
Yes, with a screen. I sleep on a screen. My bed's a screen. And my pillow's a screen. And the blanket's a screen. Everything's a screen today.
I think this is getting a little bit out of hand with the screens up in Detroit. Given all the time that Mario risked his life in order to save Princess Peach, can we all assume that they are probably, at least boyfriend and girlfriend, some romantic interest there? Can we agree?
I hope so.
Yes? Well, we're all wrong. According to a recent update on the Nintendo Today app, this is quoted: Princess Peach and Mario are good friends and help each other out whenever they can. Are you kidding me? I was irate reading this.
How can you say that about fictitious characters?
I felt like I was lied to my entire childhood with this.
What's the point? I mean, if you're Mario, at some point you're like, this is some other guy's problem. No, seriously, if you're Mario, you're like, I'm risking my life out here. This is some other dude's problem, not mine.
There's no word why Nintendo is making this announcement now, given that they've presented Mario and Peach as a couple in the past.
Yeah, that is weird. Did they break up? They they don't have little kids?
Something must have happened off screen, off
Little
camp,
paisanos?
off gameplay, heartbreaking stuff. Oh God. Mario and Peach.
Let me
Okay.
just tell you something, Ethan. If you told me this, if you're like, every day I drive into work and I save this girl's life every single day, and I don't know how many times I've been shot doing it, but I'm still alive, I would say to you, you have to stop. Like, there's someone else has to deal with this. Call police, call the FBI, call the National Guard, because you have to stop putting your life online for some random girl.
Yeah, come on.
Doesn't Superman do that all the time?
He's
Well,
got the
yeah,
girl. He's got Lois Lane. They're a thing.
But he saves other people too, I guess. Okay, I take your point. Sometimes it's the right thing to do. But if Superman was like tied up with one person every day, even he would be like, all right, I think the monster's getting you this time.
We have some good news today. Joan Bongiovanni isn't just any lifeguard. He's 75 years old, and he's been guarding the beaches in Asbury Park, New Jersey for almost 60 years. It started as a way for him to earn some extra cash back in 1968, but it's now turned into a lifelong career. He's become so important to the beach that he's trained generations of lifeguards to save lives. Joe shares here that his job is to prevent lifeguards from having to rescue people in the water.
Lifeguarding is 90% prevention. Okay? We don't want to make a million rescues. We want to keep people out of trouble.
Isn't that a cool story?
It is.
75-year-old lifeguard since 1968. My dad was 3 years old in 1968, for anyone that was wondering.
No, that's a bad idea. You need a lifeguard for the lifeguard. There's no way his heart's going to keep up with that much longer. That's a lot of exercise to pull someone from the water.
Happy birthday to Soulja Boy, who is 35 years old today. Afro Man is 51. It would have been Jackie Kennedy's birthday as well. Of course, she passed away in 1994. On this day in history here, as we begin to wrap up Ethan's news, 157 years ago today, in 1968, the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was declared in effect, of course, guaranteeing due process of law. In 1896, the city of Miami was incorporated. In 1943, President Franklin Roosevelt announced the end of coffee rationing. In 1945, U.S. Army bomber crashed into the 79th floor of the Empire State Building, killing 14 people. And one final, in 1973, the biggest rock festival in history took place in Watkins Glen, New York. 600,000 people watched Grateful Dead, the Allman Brothers, and the band. We now wrap up Ethan's news with our random fact of the day. There are 117 colleges whose sports team nicknames is the Eagles. The Hawks is second most common with 107 schools, followed by the Lions, Tigers, Cougars, Bulldogs, then Panthers and Bears. And that is Ethan's news today.
We're going to get to your Fox Business coming up on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Chad Robinson with Your Money Now. The S&P 500 rising slightly today as investors showed limited enthusiasm over a highly anticipated trade deal announced between the U.S. and the European Union. President Trump announcing yesterday the U.S. reached an agreement with the EU to lower tariffs to 15%. Shares of liquefied natural gas companies jumped today after the EU agreed to purchase $750 billion of energy from the United States. LNG exporter Venture Global was up by more than 4%, and LNG infrastructure company New Fortress Energy gained nearly 3%. President Trump today now setting his deadline for Russian President Vladimir Putin to less than 2 weeks to reach a peace deal with Ukraine or face massive secondary tariffs. Crude oil futures for September currently surging more than 2.8% below $67 a barrel. That's Your Money Now.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Guys in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love, only at Total Wine and More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Hey guys, I want to talk about Game Day Men's Health, which is an outstanding operation here in St. Louis. I've gotten to know Matt Lawrence from the Chesterfield location, and I just like to be honest as much as I can. You know that there are other locations where you can get a testosterone PSA test. You can address things like decreased libido and brain fog and poor sleep, but you're going to get a higher quality, better experience at Game Day Men's Health. And I promise you that. They have a lot of passion. The office is extremely professional. And they're offering a free testosterone and PSA test. All you have to do is call, make the reservation. It's a 1-hour visit, quick and easy. You'll have the results in 20 minutes, and then they'll have a plan for you. And everyone's plan is going to be different depending on what you're interested in. If you have not checked out Game Day Men's Health, this is a great opportunity. And do me a huge favor. Tell them that I told you to call. The office I went to is in Chesterfield, right near 6440 and Olive and Clarkson. But they do have a location in Glen Carmen, Illinois, also O'Fallon, Missouri. Again, free testosterone and PSA test. It's time to get back into the game at Game Day Men's Health. The website, GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The time is 4:33. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Built in the heartland, for the heartland. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
And I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Joining us now is a heritage scholar and expert on fiscal policy, Richard Stern. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on.
So, are the tariffs working?
Oh, well, absolutely. So it's important to remember here that tariffs in the long run harm your consumers and your manufacturers. But if you use them in the short run as a tool of negotiation, look what you can do. And Trump is certainly the negotiator in chief.
Short versus long, though. I think in some ways he is looking at some of these in a long way, meaning that we're trying to shake things up in a way where the United States isn't the only one that has tariffs put onto their products. So there are some long-term ramifications for the tariffs, but he's trying to tip it into the scale of benefiting America. And do you think he's accomplishing that?
I think he certainly is. And to your point on that, what I mean is you don't want to leave tariffs around for a long time. You want to use them to get wins that, yes, will last for generations, but you want to use them to get other wins. And that's exactly what he's done here. Europe's going to buy, $750 billion of American coal, oil, and gas, buy $600 billion of American military hardware so that they can defend themselves, but give that money to our manufacturers to do it. And that's just the beginning of the process here. But, it's also about boxing out China and reensuring that global commercial affairs run through the United States.
All right. So how does China play into all this? Do you think China is going to play ball, or do you think this is going to be a much longer, harder nut to crack?
Well, so China is a hard nut to crack, and they always are. But I think it's interesting that they're already caving. Look, we've already seen them start exporting critical minerals to U.S. manufacturers that they had held on to for a long time. And that's one of a bunch of things that they've already caved a little bit on. But, at the end of the day, most of the world wants the work of the U.S. The only way that China could win in the long run is if they could have slowly gotten everybody to realign with China and away from the U.S. And part of what's going on for the last 13 years is they've been succeeding at doing that. Trump, for the first time, has said, enough. We're not going to let you do that. And he started using these trade deals and frameworks to try to reroute everybody away from China and to refocus global affairs on the U.S. And if he can succeed the way he has, that will stop China dead in the tracks.
And I kind of feel disappointed that more countries didn't see this as their opportunity to also stand up to China. I know some of them are probably deadly afraid of upsetting them, knowing that they rely on China. But at least the United States is in a position to wean ourselves off of them as a country, which kind of gives us some leverage. And wouldn't that not be a good thing for the United States to start? This is what I thought. Back in the pandemic era in 2020, we started looking at our supply chain and realized it was probably not wise of us to have so much of our materials and medicines made in places like China when we can't get to it or there's some kind of cutoff point. So we said, okay, maybe it'd be good to bring back some of this manufacturing and build it here in the United States. But we didn't learn our lesson. All these years passed. We were kind of slow because things started going back to normal. Maybe this could be a wake-up call to say, okay, finally, we're going to do this. We'll do what companies like GE mentioned. They're going to bring more jobs back into the United States. It doesn't have to just be auto companies that are going to look at manufacturing, at least Canada, Mexico, United States, but it could be all industries saying we're just done with this uncertainty with China.
Oh, and I think you're right about that. We have to remember, though, that long before China declared war on the U.S. manufacturer, the EPA did. Washington, D.C. has regulated our manufacturing to death. Regulations right now on U.S. manufacturers total more than $30,000 a year per worker in a U.S. manufacturing firm. For small manufacturers, it's more than $50,000 a year. No wonder it's so hard to manufacture in the U.S. And so you're absolutely right that it served as a wake-up call to decouple from China, that countries around the globe are seeing an opportunity here to decouple from China because Trump wants to make a global trade regime with the U.S. at the center. But at the end of the day, that's only one side of the barriers. We got to stop putting the spotted owl in its habitat above the needs of American middle-class workers. Until we can deal with our regulations, until Europe and our allies can stop chasing green new scams and net zero carbon emissions, until we can do all that, you can't get all the pieces of the puzzle together to reindustrialize. You've got to take down both the foreign issues and China, but domestic regulations and these misplaced environmental regulations.
Yeah, I think it starts with getting rid of some of these subsidies, and I think Donald Trump's doing a great job with that. A lot of these industries only exist because of government subsidies, and they're not being backed by the interest, the demand that's driven for them, at least through the American consumer, because they'll no way ever want to pay the price point needed if those subsidies didn't exist. But even if that's the case, a lot of these companies just take the money and run anyway. They don't actually produce the things that they're supposed to produce. So let's say you take that off the equation. Isn't that enough? You think just taking the subsidies away pretty much kills a lot of these different incentives of people trying to say, okay, now we have to choose between the spotted owl and the middle class. We're picking the middle class.
So I think the subsidies are a massive pillar of it, and I think you've identified that exactly properly. But you still have to deal with permitting regulations. So I'll give you a perfect tragic thing here, which is that if you look at all mining, oil, gas extraction in the U.S., all of it in terms of volume of production, we're only a little bit ahead of where we were in 1972. And the truth is, almost all of that is the fracking revolution in the U.S. Now, it's not that our mines are bad or miners, or it's exclusively federal regulations. And in fact, we stopped producing as much electricity, and you see that in Europe, where electricity costs have tripled in the last decade. For us, we slowed the growth of new electricity online about 30 years ago. And all of it can be traced right back to those regulations we're talking about. So even if I get rid of the subsidies, even if we deal with foreign issues and all these trade things, if I can't get a permit to break ground on a new mine, processing plant, or other factory, well, then you just literally can't build it here. And that is, I think, the untold story as well. That's the other pillar of how the left and DC bureaucrats have slowly choked industry in this country.
Okay. Richard Stern's joining us, a Heritage Scholar and expert on fiscal policy. By the way, if people wanted to look up your work online, where can they go?
Well, you can go to heritage.org and find everything I write and that of my entire team. You can find me at Rich A. Stern on X, formerly Twitter, of course, as well. Thank you for having me on to talk about all this.
Yep. Going back to tariffs, I just wanted to make sure we got that out there. We still have a couple more minutes, I hope. But going back to the tariffs and something with the EU and the UK and all these different countries that are starting to play ball, at least in that sense, Donald Trump said, we can't make 200 separate deals. It's just, we just don't got time for that. So he just wants a blanket tariff. What do you think about the United States just setting that standard blanket tariff and rolling with it? Do you think that'll be effective?
Well, I think it's effective at bringing people to the negotiating table. And I think it's had the effect, and you see this with the EU, of bringing a lot of these countries as one giant meeting in the room together. So as you're talking about, not doing 200 separate deals, but doing a few deals, maybe even one giant deal framework that every country can sign on to. I would say this, though, it's important to remember that if at the end of the day, we just left a universal tariff in place, that tariff makes it harder to do business in the U.S. 60% of our imports are actually imported by U.S. businesses in their production chain, a lot of those manufacturers. So again, I think it's great if you're trying to bring countries to the table to hold them accountable for their bad practices, to hold them accountable for things they've done to take advantage of American workers. But just leaving it in place in the long run, not addressing their bad tactics, doesn't solve the problem.
There's a couple of things that have happened recently that kind of shocked me. Can I play a clip for you and get your reaction to it? This is Bill Maher recently and making headlines today discussing the tariff situation. Ethan, if you can play clip number 1. I think he's got it right there. Maybe. But okay, we could do the gist of it. That's okay. But Bill Maher, this is clip number 1.
I would have thought, and I got to own it, that that these tariffs were going to sink this economy by this time, and they didn't.
Okay, so basically he's coming out and saying he was wrong. I got to own it when it comes to tariffs. That's probably a healthy thing that people come out and admit they were wrong. But there was a lot of analysts that came out originally and said this was going to crash the economy by 4th of July. They were completely wrong about it. We're looking at record territories here. So what do you think the people that were critics should learn about tariffs? What's the lesson here?
Well, again, they were looking at it as tariffs were just going to be imposed. Originally Trump was talking about 30, 40% tariffs on some countries. And these analysts thought, well, he's going to impose the tariffs and then just walk away, and that was going to be the end of it. But what they missed about this was what Bessent was saying and other people, which is that the tariffs were a tool of negotiation. So the trade deals that Trump's getting, the concessions from other countries that they're going to stop their bad practices, all of that is buoying the U.S. economy right now. And the analysts miss that. They forgot that Trump is the negotiator in chief, and they thought the tariffs were the beginning and the end. They didn't realize that it was the opening move in a grand negotiation chess game where Trump is looking at getting other things as victories.
Yeah, and part of it you find that, he's coming in, new administration. Is it going to look different than the first? He kind of had this reputation of having the economy grow up until COVID, but things were looking great in the way that he decided to I guess, the decisions he made, rather, to help it grow. And I think they kind of lost a little confidence. Hopefully they regain that confidence in his direction. I think maybe that could be part of the lesson. All right. Richard Stern, by the way, if people, again, want to find you on Heritage or other places, where can they look?
Again, thank you for having me on. You can find me at Rich A. Stern on X, and you can go to heritage.org, and you can go to the economy section or budget, find all the stuff that I write, my team writes. And again, we appreciate being able to come on and talk about the news of the day.
Great. Heritage scholar and expert on fiscal policy, Richard Stern. Again, thank you for joining us here in St. Louis. And coming up after the break, we're going to be joined by KSDK Sports Director Frank Cusumano, and always an awesome time talking with him. He is so cool, and there's a lot going on, too, so this will be a good conversation. Next, I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon, 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Things are pretty heavy if you're headed on 170 southbound from about Del Mar down to 64. Your northbound side hits the brakes, Natural Bridge up to 70, and then again around the airport up to 270. Eastbound side of 270, heavy going from Lindbergh over to past 170. That's because of a crash working in the lane. The westbound side of 70 from 367 on out to Lucas Hunt, pretty heavy, jammed up because of a crash in a lane there as well. And southbound 270 slowing from 340 down to roughly 64, and then westbound side of 64 out of downtown from about Kings Highway over to Clayton is pretty slow. This report is sponsored by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, Lakeside Renovation and Design has been St. Louis's trusted source for transforming homes inside and out. From windows and siding to kitchens, bathrooms, and outdoor spaces, they deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
A Midwestern mom from Edwardsville, Illinois, rooted in faith, grounded in family. Annie Fry brings common sense and conviction to the conversation. The Annie Fry Show, weekdays at noon on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, August 5th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired? Do you have your personalized income plan in place? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market, and how in 39 years we have never lost a penny of our clients' money?
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, at the Frontenac Hilton, Tuesday, August 5th at 6:30. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardie contractor and Pella Window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need, while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com. That's Viking.com. Viking.com.
Reardon's back. Smarter talk for the Show Me State. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker filling in. Joining us now, KSDK Sports Director Frank Cusumano. Thank you for coming on.
Brian, great to be with you. Hope you're doing well, sir.
I am trying. Now, keep in mind, I'm here in Detroit. The Tigers have been a real rough go-around since the All-Star break. So I have to look at the Cardinals here and realize that they are making some pretty big moves. What's going on in left field there?
Well, I love the move. We were kind of shocked. We thought it may have been an error, but then we got it confirmed. I just left the ballpark. Ivan Herrera is going to start in left field. This is a guy who is a lifelong catcher who's been very carefully monitored after he's had some hamstring issues and done a lot of DHing, hasn't caught in a while. So we just talked to him. He hasn't played left field since he was 14 years old. He's been training for about a week and a half. He's going to borrow a teammate's glove, Jose Fermin, who plays some outfield, to play his first big league game. But with all of that said, I love the freaking idea, Ryan, because Cardinals haven't had an all-star outfielder since like the Middle Ages. There's actually Alan Craig. And This is the best offensive player on the team. He has a nearly 900 OPS. This season is probably shot. I'd play him every day in left field and make him a full-time left fielder, because why do the Cardinals have to be the only organization in baseball that can't have an outfielder hit 25 home runs? I think he's reasonably athletic. He was an okay catcher. He just couldn't throw, but I think he has great hand-eye coordination, so he should be fine. Your best offensive player, stick him out in left field and make him a full-time left fielder.
Frank, Ethan here. You look at this lineup, and we've talked about this. There's so much redundancy. There's so many guys that seem like they're the same guy as far as, what they can do. And Ivan Herrera, to a certain extent, fits into that up to this point, right? Because there's so many guys that, seem to profile right now, at least best for the DH spot. Now, there's still plenty of logjam in the outfield, but it is interesting to see the Cardinals electing, a team that is, leaned on the side of being conservative with moves like this, for them to jump to it so quickly. Like you said, when he's only been, getting reps out there for a week and a half. What do you think overall about the messaging that shows that the Cardinals are willing to make such a drastic change like this in such little time?
Well, it's bold with a capital B. There's no doubt about it. But Ethan, do we kind of know who Lars Nootbaar is? He's like an average outfielder who doesn't steal bases, who has a little bit of power, and who's hurt a lot. Okay, so I say let's put the guy out there now and find out if he can play the position. And I know it seems drastic, but what are we really playing for this season? We're 3.5 games out of the third wild card spot. I mean, why should we be the only team without a dynamic offensive player, in the outfield? And I'm telling you, he is a dynamic offensive player. I know the home run numbers are not great, but that's mainly because he's hurt. When you see an OPS around 900 and he's only 25 and he hit 300 last year, he's hitting 300 this year, this guy can hit, man. And if he can handle this and be reasonable out there, I think it's a good move.
Is Nolan Arenado still a Cardinal after the trade deadline?
I think so, Ryan, because I don't think there's going to be many teams that are going to take him. He's got this enormous contract, and it's being paid by the Rockies and by the Cardinals. And if a team picks him up, that's a third team. He's a Hall of Famer, one of the great people I've ever met, but I just don't think you'll be able to find a taker. Plus, he's got a no trade. It's like he and Sonny Gray would seemingly be likely trade candidates, but they have a no trade. And some guys at the end of their careers just don't want to up and move, in late July.
Trade deadline, as mentioned just a moment ago, coming up here in a couple of days. And there have been some different names that have been thrown out there potentially. And one of them that has gauged some interest on the trade market has been Brendan Donovan. I don't think there's any secret that Brendan Donovan has been the best player for this Cardinals team overall in 2025. He's in a unique spot, though, where he still has some team control, but he's 28. And if you're going to extend him, you probably need to extend him now. But if you are to extend him, then the final years of his career are going to be played in his early to mid 30s, which isn't necessary. That tends to be right beyond the prime. So let me ask you this. The Cardinals, the ask is apparently sky high. How legitimately do you think, or would you be entertaining these offers for Brendan Donovan? Or is he a guy that you're looking at and you're saying he needs to be the guy that I'm building around for the future?
Yeah, well, I don't wake up every morning thinking, hey, let's trade Brendan Donovan. Let's trade our best player. That doesn't make sense. But when you're going to be playoff-less again, everybody is on the market. I mean, everybody is tradable in this organization right now. Now, the Astros, they seemingly want a guy who could either play second base or left field, and Altuve will move according to the player they bring in, and they normally have great prospects. What I would do, though, is I would keep Brendan Donovan. I would sign him long-term. But one thing you don't want to do is, like, I think when they have control over him at least one more year, you don't want him to leave in a year. You either move him or you sign him long-term because he's a really good player. But here's the thing. He cannot be your best player if you're a playoff team. He is your only all-star. And if Brendan Donovan is your best player, I think that speaks volumes about the team, even though I think he's a terrific player.
By the way, what are you working on for this weekend's program?
Well, you know what we're going to do? Josh Schertz, the very successful basketball coach at SLU, or who will be, is also an avid pickleball player. So we are going to be playing pickleball and conducting the interview while we are playing pickleball. We're going to have a bunch of cameras, and we're going to have some fun with it.
Are you surprised the popularity of pickleball? Everyone seems to love it.
It's insane. My wife plays 5 days a week. I play maybe once a week. It is good. If you have any hand-eye coordination, or you played racquetball, tennis, or ping pong, you're like instantly mediocre. That if you work on your game, you get pretty good. It is a great game. It's a good workout.
I don't know. I don't know how good Josh Schertz is. What I can tell you is that Frank is good, and I've seen it himself, and he's kicked my butt in pickleball before. So good luck to Josh Schertz this upcoming week facing off against Frank. One final question here about the Cardinals and the trade deadline. There was some really big news that came out today with the Cleveland Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase, and there's under investigation as far as perhaps some involvement in a gambling situation, betting over play. And you can share a little bit more information about that. But also with him potentially not being able to be traded now at this upcoming trade deadline, it seems like Ryan Helsley could be the top relief pitcher on this market. Now, Frank, could you explain that whole situation?
Well, the details are still coming in, but when Major League Baseball does the suspending and not the Guardians, that's when you know it's serious business. So, yeah, he's not going to play baseball again this year, and he may not play again forever. So I don't know how guys can do that. It's pretty clear what you can and can't do, and one thing you can't do is gamble in baseball. But you know what? Great minds think alike, Ethan, because you and I should have been thinking about this young man, but instead we were thinking about how that increases the trade value of Ryan Helsley. So you're right. There's like 3 or 4 middle of the road teams that have closers that can be moved, but I think Helsley, especially with the way he's pitching now, is the most attractive.
Right. Frank Cusumano, KSDK Sports Director. Check out his show this weekend. And thank you for joining us here, Frank. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Frank.
Ryan and Ethan, good to be with you. Thank you.
Joining us after the break is Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator here from Missouri. We're going to get his thoughts on some issues that are going on around the world. A lot of big ones. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Schroer stall taking out a lane and some severe speed as well. This is 44 eastbound at Park Avenue. Crash, they're just clearing this out of the way. 270 eastbound, heavy approaching Hanley because of this crash on the right lane. And then we've got 55 southbound at McNutt, a left lane taken out. This is just a stall, but it's causing some big backups there as well. This report is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, and Electrical. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
The Martins came over, we were having spaghetti when we suddenly noticed that we started getting sweaty. So we grabbed the keys and we ate it in the van. That's what my friend said, call Jerry Kelly, man, JerryKelly.com. Give him a call even though it's late, JerryKelly.com.
Major League Baseball realized they needed new rules to help grow and speed up the game. Your retirement strategy may also need updating to keep up with potential tax law changes, Social Security, or whatever curveball Uncle Sam throws your way. Call Ricken Financial for an initial no-cost portfolio x-ray. 314-207-6211. That's 314-207-6211 or online at rickenfinancial.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, registered investment advisor.
Hi, this is Steve Butts with the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. I know we're all experiencing sticker shock when you get your insurance premium. Now more than ever, you need an independent insurance agent to find the best value for your family's insurance needs. Crawford Butts, family owned and operated for more than 60 years. Please give us a call at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com.
Mark Cox doesn't fake it. He's lived it here in St. Louis. Pro-freedom, pro-family, pro-truth. If it matters to Missouri, it matters to Mark. Mark Cox, mornings on 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis conservative.
Jim Talent and Nick Schroer coming up in the 5 o'clock hour right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley, St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Charges filed. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The man accused of stabbing 11 people at a Michigan Walmart is arraigned in state court.
Bradford James Gilley appeared via Zoom link in a Grand Traverse County courtroom. The presiding judge set bail based on charges he now officially faces. 1 count of terrorism and 11 counts of assault with intent to murder.
Mr. Gilley, your bond is going to be a $100,000 cash or surety bond.
Police have not revealed a motive for Gilley's alleged attack, but prosecutor Noel Mogenberg did acknowledge in court
The majority of this crime was caught on surveillance video.
Gilley's next court date will be a probable cause hearing on August 6th.
Fox's Colonel Scott. 2 people have died and 3 others wounded after a gunman opened fire outside the largest casino in Reno, Nevada. Police say the suspect was taken into custody after the shooting at the Grand Sierra Resort, and they say they arrived less than 3 minutes after the first shots were fired. Aid is starting to make its way into Gaza after new policies were implemented by Israel, making it easier for international organizations to distribute supplies.
Now 10-hour daily humanitarian pauses are being implemented in 3 different populated areas of Gaza, along with secure routes for trucks to travel on. Still, the issue of hunger remains a top concern for Palestinian civilians who are trying to survive the war and keep their families safe. Airdrops of aid have also been conducted by Jordan and the UAE over the past 48 hours. These airdrops are expected to continue in the days ahead.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. President Trump splitting from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who claims no one is starving in Gaza. The president said we have to help Gaza on a humanitarian basis and get kids fed. Wall Street stocks had a quiet finish on a week that could bring market-moving events. The Dow lost 64. The Nasdaq added 70. The S&P up a point. America is listening to Fox News.
You hear that? That's Mike.
sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. That's because Mike was smart this time. He took ZQL Ultra to fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs. So now he wakes up refreshed and ready to conquer Mondays.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to goodrx.com/GLP. That's goodrx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
The beast continues, but there is hope on the horizon. Mostly clear, very warm, very humid, not only this evening, but all night long. Evening temperatures around 90, 79 for the low. Tuesday, partly sunny, hot and humid, 99 to 100 degrees on Tuesday. Tuesday night, warm and humid, 79. Wednesday, partly sunny, hot and humid, still hanging on Wednesday with a couple of thunderstorms, 94. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
And I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. If you want to find me online, at Ryan Recker Radio on there as well. Joining us now is former U.S. Senator from Missouri here, Jim Talent. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ryan. Always good to be with you.
A lot of foreign issues going on. It seems like what everyone's talking about is this Gaza aid, particularly the food. And, the videos are out there and they say, oh, look at the starving children. We had a guest on actually at the start of the show, just talking about how some of this is highly exaggerated or may perhaps be propaganda coming out to manipulate some sort of trade talks. But what do you think about that situation out there? Because it's pretty convincing. It doesn't sound great.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, I sympathize with everybody trying to figure out what's going on. It's very difficult. You absolutely cannot trust Hamas. They lie every time they open their mouths. The UN isn't much better. The Israelis are slow to say anything, and they do have their own motives. The people I trust think that hunger is growing, but there's no starvation yet. I would totally disbelieve photos you see, and usually the internet will debunk them within minutes. So the underlying problem really is that Hamas does steal the aid. They use it then to feed their fighters, and then they sell it on the black market to their own people. Remember, they're the government of Gaza. This is not some organization, some subnational organization. This is supposed to be the government. And then more broadly, their whole plan is to make the civilians suffer so they can win in the narrative domain, in the information domain. And they are winning in the information domain if you look at it internationally. So the Israelis have opened up. They've instituted some pauses in combat during the day to make it easier to get aid through, and they've established some more corridors. They're dropping aid, parachuting it in. So are the Jordanians. And remember, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is the American-run aid dispensing organization, distributes about 1 million meals a day. Now, part of the problem is that the people who get the meals are, as you might imagine, the ones who are able to get through and get it are the young men. And not all of them are on the up and up, bringing it back to their families. So it's a real mess. And, what we need is for Hamas to give up the hostages. If they do that, the war would be over, but they won't because they're Hamas.
Yeah, and better yet, Hamas to not exist would even be a better thing. But when you talk about this information that's getting out there, and we see this a lot over the last couple of years, and it's always a good reminder that the information that does get out is run as a propaganda campaign through Hamas. They're the ones that run their own news organization. So you can't trust any of that. But unfortunately, when you look at the major networks here in the United States, this is what they run at every news cast. They're saying, look at how bad Israel is. They're bad people because they're withdrawing and holding back aid. They're not allowed food for these starving children. How Israel's so terrible. They're starving these innocent people. That is the headlines that get through here in the United States, but they don't really tell the rest of the story of what's going on with Hamas.
Yeah, too many of them hate Israel and don't want it to exist. Now, whether that's because of anti-Semitism or because of some twisted idea of anti-colonialism, one of these cultic-like beliefs on the far left, it doesn't really matter. It's tremendously unfair. The Israelis, I mean, what is certainly true is that the Israelis were viciously attacked. They only have 10 million people. So when they talk about 1,200 people dying, you have to, in the United States, you have to multiply that by 30. What would we do if the Mexicans, and this was an armed force, attacked us in the southern border and killed 30,000 people and raped a bunch of women and took a bunch of hostages? Well, I know what we'd do, and it would not include feeding the Mexican population. I can tell you that. And so the context is very important here. But this is the problem. I mean, Hamas has been destroyed as an organized military force. The problem is, how can Gaza be governed now? And you can't allow it to be governed by any force that will allow Hamas to rebuild. I mean, the Israelis are not going to permit that. They don't want to govern Gaza. They left in 2005. The Arab countries won't do it. I can imagine the reaction here if our government suggested doing it, and Trump is not going to do that. So this is an ongoing problem, but the immediate issue is how to get enough food to those people. Ryan? Hello?
I think we lost Ryan there for a second, Mr. Talent, as he's trying to reconnect. Ryan, can you hear us? Ryan, can you hear us? We're going to go ahead and we'll take a quick pause. We're going to try to get Ryan back on in just a moment. You're listening to 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, and things are moving pretty slow going if you're headed on 170 southbound from about Forest Park Parkway down to 64 at the moment. Your westbound side of 64, we had an earlier crash there, but it's cleared. It's still heavy from Kings Highway over to Big Bend. And then on your eastbound side, slows from 170 over to Big Bend, but not too bad. 44 approaching 270, and 270 is cleared up pretty nicely, at least north and southbound. Eastbound side, they're still working a crash just past 170, so you're kind of heavy from Lindbergh on over. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
With the heat we have here in St. Louis, just a note, most air conditioners aren't set or able to handle 100 degrees without running constantly. So before you freak out and think your air conditioner is bad, here's a few tips. If you don't have ceiling fans in your bedrooms, you can get pedestal fans and put them in your room. Keep those running all the time. On a second-story house, put one pedestal fan on top of your steps and blow it into the foyer area up high so it's cooling the heat as it's coming up and circulating the air. If you have an attic fan, simple, quick fix, plastic bag, cut it up, and duct tape, because what's happening is it's sucking in all your attic air and the heat and humidity from the outside. Try those things before you call anybody or you call me. But if you did that, please call me, Bart Inman, 314-293-2600. Remember, 0% financing is available for most up to 60 months. God bless.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, August 5th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired? Do you have your personalized income plan in place? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market, and how in 30 39 years, we have never lost a penny of our clients' money.
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, at the Frontenac Hilton, Tuesday, August 5th at 6:30. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
He's not here to play nice. He's here to make you think. Mark Reardon on 97.1 FM Talk.
Try this again. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Jim Talent, I hope you're still there.
Yeah, I'm here, Ryan. I hope I was not on air saying hello, Ryan. That's not exactly the way.
I know it was.
Radio.
Internet is spotty right now. We had these storms that rolled through here, and I think we lost internet for maybe 3 minutes. And it was one of those moments where your heart drops. You're thinking, "Oh no, not right now, not now."
Right.
All right, but I'm glad we're back together. How about we pick up on a different note? And I wanted to get your take on the latest with Russia and the United States. How are those relations going? And Ukraine.
Yeah. Well, I think what was inevitably going to happen is now going to happen because, and I say inevitably because, and here I was right about something. I always like to note that. I knew that the president was going to be able to get Zelensky. First of all, the war needs to end. It's a huge defeat for the Russians, regardless of what happens in Ukraine. I mean, Finland and Sweden are now in NATO. The Russian army has been exposed as weak. The Europeans are increasing their defense spending. Russia's lost its ally, Syria, in the Middle East because they couldn't reinforce Assad because they were engaged with Ukraine. These are enormous strategic forfeits. And then the Russians have lost close to 1 million men. And in return for this, they've conquered additional territory in Ukraine, slightly bigger than the state of Vermont. So they've lost. And that's why, on a strategic level, that's why Trump is saying to Putin is ridiculous. I mean, Trump is clearly very frustrated. He's offering him an off-ramp. It's an honorable peace. It would be because we're not going to put Ukraine into NATO. And he'll get a little additional territory, Putin will, but Ukraine is not going to agree to give up its sovereignty, nor is it going to agree to give up its connections with the West. I mean, this is a recipe for rebuilding Ukraine. Europeans will have to pay for most of that, and increasing and protecting its independence and its connections to the West, which is what it's always wanted. But Putin won't go along, and there's all kinds of reasons we could talk about why. I think one of the big reasons is that the war is over. The Russian people are going to start taking an accounting of the sacrifice that they undertook and how little they got for it. And I think Putin knows that. But anyway, he's got to get Putin to the table. And so Trump is preparing to increase the cost to Putin of continuing the war. And president's mentioned tariffs, which he's certainly willing to do. He's credible when he threatens that. There's secondary sanctions against the remaining Russian banks that would basically cut the Russian financial system entirely off the international system. We could tighten up the sanctions on the oil. And Russia's basically, a gas station run by a mafia. I mean, that's one way of describing it. So Trump's going to do that. I mean, he's fed up, and I think Trump probably alone among our last three, going back to Bush 2, it hasn't been naive about Putin, but I think he believed that Putin saw his own interests would be advanced by a reasonable peace, and the president may have misestimated in that. So now he's going to put pressure on him, and I hope Putin believes him, because when Trump gives somebody a deadline, he means it.
Yeah. All right, let's go back onto the Ukraine side, and they weren't too keen at giving up any territory. They wanted it all back in order to get some peace. Have they came to the realization that in order to stop this is kind of the way to do it? This is the exit ramp necessary. Do you think they've realized that, or do you think they're going to try to negotiate, or maybe even reject if Putin does come to the table?
Well, they're going to negotiate, and Trump is going to be a mediator. It's one of the reasons he hasn't, except when like Zelensky just rebelled against even getting to the table, why Trump has tried to maintain space so he can mediate this. But yeah, they'll negotiate, and they have to negotiate what the lines are. The Russians, there's a lot of things when Putin comes to the table he's going to want. Now, one of the reasons he does it is because there's a logic to negotiations. If he agrees to a ceasefire and comes to the table, the war's not starting again. And so I think his position, because he is gradually winning, if you can call it that, on the battlefield, I mean, he might think his positions are being weakened. But yeah, there'll be a lot of negotiations, but I think they can get an agreement. If they'd done it 2 years ago, which is when I proposed it or suggested it in a column, we might have been able to get us part of the agreement, either Ukraine in NATO or just a bilateral guarantee of their security. But they've been losing gradually since then, and it's weakened their position. So, yeah, I think if Trump can get them to the table, there's a good chance he can get a deal.
Yep. I don't know how much time you have. We lost a little bit there, but do you need to go? If that's okay, if you need to.
I can stay another couple minutes.
All right.
Sure.
Let me ask you something as the sake of you as a politician. You served under George W. Bush. Would you have liked to serve under Donald Trump as president? Would that have been something you would have enjoyed, or would that have been a burden?
Oh, no, I'd have enjoyed it, particularly this term, because what happened, it's a very unique situation. He served 4 years as president and got to the point where he understood the job. And so then he was out 4 years, and that gave him time to plan what he wanted to do. And now he's doing it. And I've been very pleased with the vast majority of what he's done. I felt a little tentative about the tariffs, as many people do. But he's using the tariffs as a tool to accomplish a couple of things. One of them is we're going to emerge from this tariff regime with the thumb on the scale of manufacturing in the United States, which I think and have thought for some time is essential. Remember, I represented a manufacturing state, and particularly when we let China into the WTO, manufacturing took a huge hit. And when that happens, not only you lose good jobs for people, you lose innovation ability too. You need the shop floor so the engineers have a place to go to see how the ideas are working, et cetera. But other than that, I mean, the president has shut down the border. He's deporting the illegals I could go down the long list, right? Now, if you mean by that the president's unpredictable, and if I was in Congress, he'd be the leader of my party, and you don't know what he's going to say, and you're going to get asked about it. Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting world in Washington now, but we're getting things done, and that was always what I was about. And so, yeah, I think it's a very exciting time.
It is. Well, if people wanted to read some of your work, things you're doing, find you, where can they go?
National Review, just Google Jim Talent, National Review Archive. I'm also with the Reagan Institute. I chair their National Leadership Council and work on a number of their national security initiatives, including the National Security Innovation Base report card, which you can check out. Be prepared for some heavy reading, though. We were monitoring the health of the National Security Innovation Base. It's an important project, but requires a lot of work.
I bet it does. Do you think Ronald Reagan would have liked Donald Trump as a president?
I think he'd have liked a lot of what he's done. I mentioned the tariffs before. Reagan, forget about a tariff. I mean, he was so concerned about Japanese automobiles penetrating the United States. He put a quota on which caused them to invest and build all these car plants in the United States, which is one of the things Trump is aiming at. Yeah, I do. Very different styles, but very different times. Reagan had President Trump has a sense of humor, but Reagan had a dry sense of humor that was just very attractive, and he he could pull off these witty lines, and he was just a great leader. I think Trump is also. Different times, different style. But, Ryan, you can have different styles in leadership and be effective. You got to know what you want to do. you got to be decisive. You got to be willing to take risks, and you got to be able to recruit good people. And I think Trump is by and large doing that. He's got a few clunkers in the administration, and no, I'm not naming names. But by and large, they're a very accomplished set of people.
Yep. Former U.S. Senator here from Missouri, Jim Talent. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Sorry about the technical stuff earlier.
No problem, Ryan. Usually when that happens, I'm the one who screwed up. So I'm glad that wasn't the case here.
You're just used to people blaming you for things, I guess.
Yes.
Thank you, Jim Talent. We appreciate the time.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it was kind of one of those scary moments where I'm sitting here at this studio in Detroit, and all of a sudden the internet goes out, and all the screens I had up are like, no internet, no internet. I'm thinking, no, please, not right now. Not during Jim Talent. But I'm glad we were able to work it out. I appreciate the understanding. So we got a couple of minutes here. I think we got some more clips to play. We got Nick Schroer coming up after the break in about 10 minutes from now. Missouri State Senator, with Texas redrawing the congressional map. Should Missouri do the same thing? What I'm really interested to talk to him about, too, all these other states that are looking at the deportations and the people that are no longer going to be counted, what that means for redrawing the congressional districts. That's going to be, I think, a major advantage for Republicans in the future. It really will be. All right, a couple of clips that I think would be good to play, and this is going back to what we were talking about with former Senator Talent there, and Donald Trump discussing Vladimir Putin lying to him. Not a good way to operate if you are in active negotiations and the United States is not on your side right now. Can we play clip number 16 if we could?
Well, I don't want to use the word lying. All I know is we'd have a good talk, and it seemed on, let's say, 3 occasions, it seemed that we were going to have a ceasefire and maybe peace, and you divide it up and you do whatever you have to do, that obviously to get to the end. And all of a sudden, missiles are flying into Kiev and other places. And I say, what's that all about? I spoke to him 3-4 hours ago, and it looked like we were on our way. And then I'd say, forget it, and I'm not going to talk anymore. You know, this has happened on too many occasions, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
Okay. It's hard to negotiate with that, yeah, when you keep going back and continuing the attacks as opposed to stopping. Let's play a little bit more. This is clip number 18. No trade deals with Putin until the
He wants
Ukraine
to do
war.
trade deals with us. He talks about it all the time. He wanted to. And I envision that a lot of trade with Russia. They have a lot of valuable things. When you talk about rare earth, they have serious rare earth, right? It doesn't make sense to me. I thought he would want to end this thing quickly. I really felt it was going to end. But every time I think it's going to end, he kills people.
Yep. You know, that kind of reminds me a little bit of North Korea in a sense. Back when there were ongoing negotiations in the sense that, hey, North Korea, how about you stop with this dictatorship stuff and join the rest of the world, as opposed to being this little peninsula. I guess it wouldn't be a peninsula, but just be in this area where when we do satellite imagery, it's dark at night and you oppress your people and they are killed if they try to escape. Or maybe you round up Christians inside of their own makeshift Colosseum, like for the entertainment of people watching them suffer. And then you have your state-run propaganda, and then it's not great. People starving there. You want to talk about the labor camps and the slavery that goes on in North Korea. You had Donald Trump go in, and what looked like was a path for them to hit the exit ramp. They didn't. And North Korea is still North Korea. Not much has changed. We haven't even heard North Korea come up. He was making some progress until the pandemic, and then it was over again. I wonder whatever happened with that. Has he ever followed up? What's going on? Is there anything to follow up with there? One other thing about Ukraine and Russia. This is clip number 19, if we could play that.
I'm disappointed in President Putin. Very disappointed in him. So we're going to have to look, and I'm going to reduce that 50 days that I gave him to a lesser number, because I think I already know the answer what's going to happen.
Yeah, if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. 50 days or not, why delay the inevitable? But you got to get to the table. Maybe a little bit of pressure helps. It's interesting the way that Jim Talent categorized the land that was taken from Ukraine and is about the size of Vermont. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize it was so small. When you look at it on a map, it seemed like a larger area. And I understand that Ukraine doesn't want to give up any property. And I've heard critics and people say this to me. This was the United States. We'll just use Vermont as the example. If Canada came down and took Vermont, then you wouldn't want to give it up either as part of a negotiation, would you? You wouldn't give up Vermont. And I think the answer is clear. The United States has a way to defend itself and get it back. That's the big difference. We have the ability to do this on our own and be able to defend ourselves. And we should be pretty pleased with our defense capabilities because it is something that's used and borrowed and abused by countries all over the world, including Ukraine, and our generosity in trying to help them when it comes to our weapons and our engineering. And Israel should thank us. There's a lot of countries that should be thanking us more than they do. But if something like that were to happen on our home soil, you better believe we'd be able to take care of it ourselves. And that's the big difference there when you talk about Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine wants to do it themselves. We tried to help them and aid them. But still, if they cannot do it, there's got to be a point where the war ends. And what does that look like? That is the big question. Does it look like it's saving people's lives by giving up this little plot of land with Vermont because they can't take it back themselves? And if that's what it takes, I think maybe that's what it takes. Plus, we don't want to be involved forever. So at some point, Ukraine understands that if we just walk away from the table and they don't have our support, it doesn't look good for them either. So that's a big realization. Nick Schroer, he is a Missouri State Senator. He's going to join us after the break. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon on 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right. Well, we've got a couple slow spots out there, like on 170 northbound from about Natural Bridge on up to 70, a slight delay, and southbound side from the Forest Park Parkway down to 64 eastbound from 170 over to Big Bend, slow westbound from Kings Highway to Big Bend, and 270, some delays as you're passing Olive. And by the time you get to 64, that has cleared up. This report is sponsored by Point Pest Control, a Point with an E, Pest Control. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Point Pest Control is reminding you it's time to spray for mosquitoes. How can something that tiny interrupt your outside gatherings? Have Point Pest Control spray today so your next outside gathering is mosquito-free. 636-798-0023. Mention Annie to save an additional 10%. PointPestControl.com.
Mark Cox in studio with Gloria Liu, broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and St. Louis real estate expert. Gloria, while most agents make big promises, you're famous for your upfront written guarantee.
That's right. My name is My Promise. Well, many agents promise you an unrealistic sales price just to get your business. I'll provide you with an upfront written guarantee stating if I cannot sell your home for 100% market value, I'll pay you the difference.
Gloria, this is what sets you apart from others and why I only recommend you to my listeners, friends, and family. Friends, why risk working with just any agent when you can work with the best? Gloria Liu guarantees your sale price upfront and in writing.
Absolutely. And if I don't, I will pay you the difference. The agent you choose in this changing market matters and could cost you or make you thousands.
Sell your home with certainty, confidence, and 100% of market value, or Gloria will pay you the difference. Call 314-325-6888 or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. That's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Why should you hire America's largest injury law firm for your case? There's lots of reasons. Just like there's a reason millions of people called us last year in their time of need. When it comes to fighting for justice and compensation, millions of people across the country trust us to go to battle for them. We became the largest injury law firm in the world for a reason. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Are you nearing retirement and don't know if you have enough money saved to retire? That is scary. Do you have a written retirement financial plan in place? Well, when it comes to retirement planning, the trusted team at Financial and Tax Architects are the best. They've helped people all over St. Louis retire with confidence. And that's what you want. You want to retire with confidence. Now, they offer a one-night, 2.5-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. They hold these at colleges over the St. Louis area and in Illinois. No cost, no obligation, just learning. And at this class, you learn how to avoid costly mistakes, how to maximize your income, how to reduce taxes in retirement. So call them today, 314-888-5101, or visit fta-ria.com and take the first step toward a smarter retirement. 314-888-5101.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
How about all text? You focus on the road.
As a passenger, you have the power to prevent an accident. There are 1,000 ways to stop a distracted driver. Choose one.
A message from CTIA.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The time is 5:33. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Bold takes, real talk, no apologies. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Filling in for Mark Reardon. Joining us now is Missouri State Senator Nick Schroer. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Texas wants to redraw its congressional map. There's questions about Missouri doing it too. And part of the questions with Missouri is, hey, we just kind of did this. So do we really need to do it again? What do you think? Do you think we need to reevaluate?
Look, I'm pretty biased about this because I was the one when I was in the House before I moved over to the Senate that offered the 7-1 map, affectionately called 7-1 map, that would draw 7 more conservative districts. You still have to have a good candidate to win those, and then 1 protected by the right. So, the leadership in the state of Missouri was kowtowing to the woke leftists that were threatening to filibuster, threatening to shut. And a special session would be a perfect opportunity to do like this. And I think when a lot of people say, well, it's not the right thing to do, try telling that to the Republicans in Illinois or California or other states that are gerrymandered to where Republicans can never win due to the fact that the supermajority Democrat parties in those states use their power as I'm saying Missouri should.
Have you seen the congressional maps in Illinois right across the border there?
It's horrible. It looks like an old Mario picture where, you've got one Democrat county that stretches all the way up across the state around a couple other counties. It's like a Tetris game. And our founders intend for it to look like that. But while we have Democrat states playing by those rules apply to the state of Missouri, and we should act accordingly. Did I lose you?
We're gonna. Ryan is reconnecting his audio again, having some troubles.
I think we got it
remotely, and he's back with us. So
this is ridiculous. Our internet keeps going out here at our building. That's not good when you're trying to do a radio show, Nick. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. I thought it was on my end. It's usually this treacherous heat that impacts us.
It could be anything at this point. I'm about to turn my phone into a mobile hotspot to see if that helps. Okay, but. Yeah, speaking of these congressional maps, though, That's where I think it's going to get very interesting in the future with the amount of people that have either been A, deported or B, self-deported. That's going to change a lot of congressional areas, and I think in favor of Republicans in the future. So there's going to be, I think, a major reckoning to try to look at some of these districts, and I think Democrats are going to be fighting it till the bitter end, realizing that it's not going to be looking good for them.
Well, it's one of the last things that they have right now is the representation by illegal immigrants. And let that sink in for a minute. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said over the weekend that, it's wrong for people to rip up out of communities law-abiding, illegal, undocumented immigrants. It's an oxymoron. Well, that's what the Democrat Party is right now. They are underwater for the first time in like 50-plus years, less popular than the Republicans, especially with people my age and even younger. And that's the last thing that they have to hold on to try and regain power. So, unfortunately, we're going to have a fight on our hands, but I think the law, not only the federal jurisprudence that we have on redistricting congressional seats is in our favor, but the Missouri Constitution is in our favor as well.
Okay, so let's say hypothetically you wanted to reevaluate Missouri. What do you do? Like, what's the step to do that, and when would you do it?
My call would be for an extraordinary session. I think the governor needs to call us back in to deal with not only this issue, but something else dealing with our elections as well, and that's the initiative petition process. And that would go, if we were to pass any changes to the initiative petition process, that would go to the ballot most likely next year. So the governor would have to call the Missouri Senate and the Missouri House back into a special session to redistrict in a manner that would basically take Emmanuel Cleaver's current district and modify that to make it more competitive for Republicans to win. And that's something that we tried to do a couple of years ago, and leadership said, no, it's not fair for Republicans to do this, despite the fact that other states, Democrat-led states, were saying, screw the Republicans, screw any moderates that are out there. We just want power. And again, this would be a competitive seat. This wouldn't be something where it would be, 80-20 in favor of Republicans. This would be something that would be more akin to a district like Ann Wagner has on our side of the state, where you have to have a good candidate who's going to do the work and fight for her people or his people. And it would be more competitive to where the Republicans would actually have a fighting chance.
Where do you stand, like, if a judge has to decide this, as in, okay, now there's going to be a court battle if you decide to go this route. Are you prepared for that?
Absolutely. And anything that we do of consequence, you can rest assured the Democrats or their well-funded interest groups are going to try and attack us. Look, I was talking earlier today at Senator Adam Schnelting had a golf tournament. I was there with our good friend Mark Cox, and we were talking about this exact thing. Oh, when we did Heartbeat Bill back in 2019, we were taken to court, and we were prepared for that. So we won that battle. And so many other times we're taken to court, and we've got a great Attorney General, Andrew Billy, who I can guarantee will be working with us to make sure whatever we're doing with congressional maps is going to be following the law and won't be an easy win for Democrats once they do challenge this.
How do you think Governor Kehoe's doing so far?
I think he's doing a great job. Whether he was your first, second, or third choice, there's plenty that we can agree with and some areas that we can disagree with. One of the areas that I disagreed was on the stadium deal that we went into special session to try and deal with. And look, I think our tax dollars should be utilized in other manners. I think if anybody's going to get tax breaks, it shouldn't be these billionaire stadium team owners. It should be regular folks that are working day in, day out just to afford groceries, get rent, what have you. So I think on other issues like the crime bill, on restoring property rights, a lot of other issues, Governor Kehoe has done a great job. And I attribute that to actually working the halls and working with legislators and not ruling like, some tyrannical dictator saying, hey, even though I'm in a separate branch of government, you're going to do what I want. We've had past governors that you'd never see work in the halls, past governors that you don't know what their priorities are. But here you've got Governor Kehoe, who's actually establishing relationships with everybody to say, hey, here's what I want. What do you want? How can I help you? And I think that's going to set the tone for the next couple of years.
Okay. How do you like the move as a state senator as opposed to the House? Do you like it more?
I do. It's a lot more work because there's a lot less of us. You've got 160 plus members in the House, one of the largest branches of government in the United States. And then you've got 34 members in the Senate, which is a heck of a lot smaller than a lot of other Senates. But the power that's vested within each senator, you've got this unfettered filibuster power that at any point, at any stage, you can just start filibustering anything you want. So it's kind of like you're walking on eggshells. And I always tell people it's like dealing with, a bar fight, so to speak, in constitutional carry. You don't know who has the ability to possess a firearm or know how to use it. So you're going to tread lightly to make sure that, whether they're educated or not on their weapon of choice or their tool, you're going to try to make sure it's not going to rise to the worst case scenario, and that would be a filibuster. So that's where I think restoring some of that professionalism, restoring some of that camaraderie in negotiations is key if we're going to try to get anything done. And unfortunately, the past couple of years, the Democrats have been filibustering everything from the calendar to highway naming bills to tax cut deals that would benefit their constituents because it's not their idea.
Okay. So when you go back and you talk to people in St. Charles County, what are their biggest issues right now? What are the things they want you to fight for them for?
Well, going door to door, people are pretty vocal on a couple things. One, I would say, is public safety. Yeah, it's one of the reasons I fought so massively for the past couple of years on the public safety omnibus bill and dealing with the crime in the city of St. Louis that's been spreading into St. Charles County. So even though we got a lot of that done this year, we've still got more to accomplish in that area. But the other one I'd say is tax cuts, whether it's income tax reform, personal property tax reform, the list goes on. And the people in St. Charles County continuously tell me, whether it's events or at their door, that they're taxed enough already. And they add up all the different taxes that they're paying today and paying the government, and not necessarily seeing the return as if they were utilizing that money in a different way. So those are things going into next session. We're going to be working with Governor Kehoe's administration to try and zero out income tax, or in the alternative, try to phase out and zero out personal property tax.
Yeah, personal property tax, man. That's part of it. It's one of those things, unless you know what it is, you're shocked to learn about it when you move into the area. Shocked. You're like, what are you talking about? I paid taxes on everything I purchased, and you want me to continue to pay taxes after the purchase too? Are you crazy? That would be a good one to get eliminated. Yeah. Speaking of some of the money issues that we're facing here in the United States, how do you think the Trump administration is doing in handling the economy, national debt, things like that?
Look, I think for the most part, they're doing a bang-up job. As you saw from the Democrats, their own posting the other day about inflation and the cost of groceries. I mean, it went gangbusters under the Biden administration. So he walked in after he did a great job for the 4 years that Donald Trump was here. He came into a disaster of an economic arena, so to speak, when he took over from the Biden administration. And I think he's done a great job. You've got people like Bill Maher even coming out saying that he's now second guessing his take on the tariffs, as he thought we were going to be in a recession, as he thought the tariffs were going to, make the stock market crash. And here we are. We're still living. We're making a ton of revenue from these other nations. And now you're getting criticized. The nation is getting criticized from all of these left-wing media rags saying how we're taking in everything from these other nations and not giving a lot. Well, that's America first for you. So, yeah, I do think that there's a lot of areas that we can focus on and grow and continue to do more work on. But I think given the scenario and the train wreck, the dumpster fire that the nation was in when Donald Trump took the reins as the 47th president of the United States, I think he's done one heck of a job.
Yeah, if we can just find a way to get that national debt ticker to go in the opposite direction for a little bit. I mean, if we could figure that out, that would be quite the accomplishment. And I think that's kind of what they're working towards in some of these different methods. Wouldn't it be nice? I think about all the different things that Donald Trump was criticized for, and then you go a couple of months in the future.
Believe
Sorry
we
about that.
lost
No,
Ryan again,
it's-
and he's back. There he is.
These internet things, but no, this internet has just been so spotty today. I apologize, but all these different
Every
things.
time we're talking common sense, they just cut us off. It's got to
I
be
know,
China or Russia.
Grand conspiracy. But what I was going to say was at least Bill Maher will admit it. Hopefully there's more that admit it in the future. That needs to be true, but that's not going to happen. One, they hate the guy, but two, they know that if they do give them any credit, then there's no chance they'll ever win another election ever. So they look at it as a point of, well, we have to do it for our own survival. They'll have to lie as long as they have to. So,
Well, Ryan, that's one of the reasons why we're focusing on the Epstein files right now. You and I and everybody wants to see the Epstein files released, but we understand there's about 10 other things going on at the same time. You can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. You can want to support the one big beautiful bill. You can want to cut taxes, and you can want to focus on immigration, but at the same time still want these files to be released. And the Democrats are losing. They're losing so massively right now. That's why they're concentrating every single place you go. You look at some of these Democrats that are on break right now in the House, and all they're talking about is the Epstein files because they have nothing else to talk about of consequence.
So, by the way, if people wanted to look you up online, where can they go?
Go to, I'm on X at Nick B. Schroer. Just go to nickschroer.com. That'll link you up to everything that I'm doing. Or if you want to follow me legislatively, go to senate.mo.gov. Look up my non-smiling face. I'm the only senator not smiling. It's kind of, I don't know why that is, but yeah, find me there. And thanks again for having me on today.
Yeah, I'm looking at the picture now on your senate.mo.gov. And do you have to use that beard gel to make it so smooth? Do you use a product that way?
No, it's just this great St. Charles County water that might be radioactive from time to time.
State Senator Nick Schroer, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a great week.
There's a lot of man product out there people use. I am not one of them, but I look at a beard that's so well trimmed and it just looks so perfect. I thought, oh, he's got to be one of those people that use like the beard butter, but apparently not. It's just naturally that good because of St. Charles. I'm Ryan Recker filling in for Mark Reardon, 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
And things have cleared up pretty decent. We've got a stall clearing as we speak on 270 southbound, just past 44. That's getting out of a right lane there. And then 44 on your eastbound side before 50. We've got some road work now set up in the right lane, but otherwise things are moving along well. This report is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, and Electrical. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This summer, while you stay cool, our first responders stay on the front lines. The St. Louis First Responder Canteen is there to keep them hydrated and supported. Find out how you can help by visiting 971talk.com/talkinaction.
Jerry Kelly swings next day installs no matter how late you call. And because they work later every day, they're faster when your equipment just needs fixing too.
That's MVP material.
Yep, simple fix or a full install. Nobody gets you comfortable faster.
JerryKelly.com. Attention, have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-355-8282. That's 800-355-8282. Again, that's 800-355-8282.
Stop everything you're doing right now and ask yourself, are you currently receiving steady paychecks? What about when you're retired? Will you receive a monthly check to cover your expenses and also have some fun? Marvin Mitchell and the team at Compass Retirement Solutions calls this mailbox money. It's a monthly check you'll receive throughout retirement. They don't want you to worry about if the money will show up or how much money you'll receive. The only thing they want you to think about is how to spend it when it arrives. Find out how to get enough money in your mailbox every month when you're retired. Call Marvin Mitchell and the Compass Retirement Solutions team at 314-373-1598 to start working on a plan that can help you create the monthly income you'll need in retirement. Call 314-373-1598 right now and schedule a visit with Compass Retirement Solutions. 314-373-1598. Firm offers insurance services, investments, and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois.
Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort, offering small ship experiences with a shore excursion included in every port and programs designed for cultural enrichment. Discover more at Viking.com. That's Viking.com.
Bold conversations, no apologies. The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
And I'm Ryan Recker in for Mark Reardon. Man, what a day with this internet, Ethan. I know it can't be easy for you. You're back in the studio. You're red like a lobster. Voice is starting to go from having a great time at the Ozarks, and then we're having conversations, and then the host who's in Detroit keeps cutting out. What a day for you. You thought one day maybe you'll get to relax. Not today. No relaxation.
You know, I picked the wrong day to actually show up on a day that you're hosting.
I thought you were going to say something else. I thought you were going to say, I picked the wrong day to quit sniffing glue. That's an Airplane line because you said you're going to see Airplane, but I know you didn't see Airplane.
When did I say I was going to see Airplane?
I thought you said you were going to watch Airplane like a week and a half ago. And
maybe I did, but at this point, you should just come to the understanding that anytime that I say I'm going to watch a movie, I'm not going to watch it.
I thought you were setting it up, and I thought, I'm so proud of you. My beautiful red boy watched Airplane. But he didn't. But it's still there in case you ever want to watch it. All right, that should lead us into the audio cut of the day.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
I know we've already played this audio cut twice, but I feel like a third time would be worth repeating. Is Bill Maher, and he's making headlines because Bill Maher said he was wrong about Donald Trump's tariffs, and he's got to own it. This is clip one.
I would have thought, and I got to own it, that that these tariffs were going to sink this economy by this time, and they didn't.
And he wasn't. Stock markets are at record highs, he says. I don't see a country in a depression at all. I see people out there just living their lives, and I would have thought, and I got to own it, that these tariffs were going to ruin the country or whatever he said. I'm trying to remember the rest of the quote, but essentially he was wrong and he admitted it. And good for him. That's what we should do when you get the takes wrong. And you're so wrong when you're back just months ago saying by 4th of July, everything's going to be terrible, but I'm going to be fine because I'm a millionaire. No, we didn't have to buy that either. Good for him. A couple of other clips I want to get to. Let's look at from the CIA, John Ratcliffe. He said there's some more documents coming for Russiagate. This is clip number 8.
They conspired against President Trump. They conspired against the American people. The statute of limitation doesn't start to run until the last act in furtherance of that conspiracy. And part of why this is so important is the people behind this are still furthering the conspiracy. They're refusing to admit or acknowledge what they did in 2016 and what they did in 2020 was wrong.
Do you think they'll have a Bill Maher moment and they'll have to admit at one point that they were wrong? Or maybe they realized that, man, they took shot after shot after shot at Donald Trump. We're talking impeachments and court hearings and, well, let's throw it in this district. And it was just nonstop barrage, and he won again. And here we are today. You think they'll ever admit that? Probably not. By the way, speaking of these Russian documents, the dossier, Tulsi Gabbard was asked why it's not being covered with more importance. This is clip number 23.
They don't actually cover the revelations that these intelligence reports and the evidence that we released actually conveys to the American people. They simply talk about their criticisms of it or convey Democrat politicians' criticisms of it, but none of them actually dealing with the truth that has been revealed. They don't want the American people to know the truth, but also they recognize the mainstream media's complicity in this.
The complicity is, I think, pretty much widely known and understood, maybe not accepted, but I think the best example is that how they hid the condition of Joe Biden for as long as they did. And think about this too. All the different cabinet members, everyone else around him, none of them had the courage to come out and criticize the mental decline of the president of the United States to the point where we don't even think he was understanding the pardons that were being signed under his name through this auto pen. I mean, this is how bad it has gotten. But here we are today. They won't admit it. They never will. And the moral of the story is Bill Maher will. All right. That'll do it for me. Hopefully, as long as the internet works tomorrow, I'll be back if they will allow me and Ethan doesn't rally around to try to get me fired.
No promises.
So hopefully we get a chance to do this tomorrow. I'm Ryan Recker at Ryan Recker on Twitter. You're listening to Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install a Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?